Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, it is going great. We are here in Atlanta, and right now, if you look on the right side of the screen, that is the Ohio State Buckeyes up in Columbus. They are getting ready to get on the buses and head out to join us in Atlanta in just a few hours. Just so everyone kind of knows what the plan is, we are at the Media Hotel right now. Kevin Noon is out at the Atlanta airport. Oh, we just lost our shot from Columbus. We'll see if we can get that back. We are going to have Mark is up in Columbus shooting the arrival Ohio State departure. So we'll have all of that. And then we'll have when the Notre Dame team lands, that's supposed to be in about an hour or so. We'll have that. And then the Buckeyes are going to land about 7:15. We'll have that. Expecting to have interviews with both of those teams as they get to the airport. All of this is a little unofficial. Nothing is there's not a ton of structure to these at all times. So
we never know what we're running into.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, this is what we have planned. And then, Tom, I was just doing the math. You said 7:15. It is only like 4:07 right now.
Correct. Yes.
So we're going to be here. So if we're going to be here, you guys need to be here as well. Throw some questions in the live chat. We'll get to those. Throw some super chats. Those go to the front of the line. And we will talk about this game for the first time since we've been here in Atlanta. So
for in the first time in literally 17 minutes since we've walked into the Media Hotel, now we're here. So now it is time to get down to business.
And we have not talked about the game at all since we've gotten here. But this is a pretty nice setup here in the Media Hospitality area where we are coming to you live from. And as you see there back in cold, icy Columbus. It is 60 degrees here in Atlanta right now.
Not for long, but right now.
But it feels nice right now.
Yeah.
I know you see at the Buckeyes Athletic Center as the buses have lined up. So we are going to get you from departure to arrival. In theory.
Now we're not going to be on the plane. We're going to have you at departure and have you at arrival.
Okay.
There's going to be a middle part where it's just us talking, and that's okay. There'll be plenty of stuff to talk about. And Robert wants to know if we're doing the behind-the-scenes look. I mean, we're behind the police tape there. So, yes, in a manner of speaking, yes. And we are in the media lounge, and this is a credentialed access-only area. So, yes, this is behind the scenes as well in certain ways. So, yeah, we'll say yes. We'll take credit for that.
At some point, you can even throw the computer around, throw the camera around and show the people.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to see if I can – it looks like you got some family members boarding buses right there now. I'm going to see if I can punch this. No, didn't do it. All right, I was trying to make the Columbus view bigger, but that's okay. So you're going to see the Buckeyes get on those buses, presumably in just a few minutes. The way they board the buses, there's like a real prescribed order that guys go in. And Ryan Day is always on the first bus. Ryan Day is always in the front seat of the first bus. There's like one or two staff members who get off the bus before he does, but they're kind of like getting off the bus to make sure everything's, like, okay, they got to run inside the hotel and they've got to run inside to make sure, all this stuff is set up. And then Ryan Day comes off the bus, and then you kind of get this parade of guys off. And you generally see the same guys coming off of the buses. I think it's kind of done by position groups, but not, I don't know that everyone has an assigned bus. All of this is very regimented, because they have to just be able to do this very efficiently.
Imagine if it wasn't.
Right, yeah. I mean, you can't board like Southwest where it's like, well, who wants to sit here? Like, no, I don't want to sit there.
Like what happens if, we left the quarterback back in Columbus.
Yes.
Like everybody has to be checked.
Yes. Did I tell you about the time that we were on vacation and we were with my cousins and we had two cars and went to the Phoenix airport and we picked up the two cars and each one thought that my younger brother was in the other car, and we thankfully stopped for gas, like 5 minutes away from the rental car place, and went, "Hey, do you have him?" And they said, "No." "Do you have him?" "No." And he was upset that no one had been willing to buy him a soda, so he was hiding behind the vending machine in the rental car place. True story. So anyway, you don't want that to happen with Will Howard. So, get Ryan Day on the airplane halfway to Atlanta. Well, and then he has to fight off burglars. That'd be all really bad. So that's why they have this structure. So now you see the guys getting on the bus. Just a few guys coming down that sidewalk. This is on the side of the building. It looks like on the north side of the Buckeyes Athletic Center. You can sort of see that glass portion sticking out there. That is, I think, the Is that the trophy lobby, or is that the? I think that's the side of the building.
Shoemaker.
Yeah, that's I think the trophy lobby. So yeah, you've got guys starting to get on those buses now, and what they will do is they will head to the airport. They do TSA screening in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. They do not fly the way that you and I fly. They do their TSA screening at the Woody, and then they march them right out, a sterile area, right out onto the buses, get off the buses, right up onto the airplane, and go. So they do not screw around at the airport for long. They do all their paperwork and all their official security stuff at the Woody, and then they go to the airport right up, you see them getting off the buses, walking across the tarmac, and walking right up onto the plane on the social media channels.
It's the only way to travel.
I would love to find out someday. I would. They don't quite. It's not quite flying private like they flew. I know United to one of the other bowl games, but it's pretty darn close to flying private. You don't have to deal with any of the airport stuff. You don't have to go through security there. You don't have random people yelling at you in the airport. All that kind of stuff. They probably don't have to pay $8 for a bottle of water. I mean, they've got a pretty good setup, I would say.
They get 2 bags of pretzels, something like that.
Yeah. But there's some fans there. And Ohio State did invite a bunch of fans out to come out to watch the team departure. It looks like a pretty good turnout there. You can see some big fans there. Let's see if we can see who's coming in here. Trying to make out who people are. That looks like Matt Guerreri, safeties coach.
Look at you. You got eagle eyes.
I do.
What about the kids' names?
Can't privacy reasons. Can't tell you that.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, PL, we know. Thank you. We don't have a way to do that, but we would love to do that. Glass Wing Butterfly wants to know if they have to take their shoes off in the Woody Hayes and put their bags through screening. I'm sure they screen the bags. I was told they have to go through security screening there. So, like they do TSA screening at the Woody.
There's like a mobile screening unit that the TSA will bring them, and then
I guess.
Or does the building just have to have one?
I guess, or they just make them go through a metal detector and like screen their. I don't know. That is what I was told. So I thought that was pretty remarkable.
I see people's happy that we arrived safely and made it through traffic.
Yes.
Traffic. Nobody warned me about Atlanta traffic. I always heard it was great. Why?
Jim Knowles, defensive coordinator right now. I didn't hear him say "Go Birds." It's strongly implied. Guys in red, those are the players who are in their red. Cody Simon getting on the bus right there. We have a question from Todd whether we brought Kevin his beaver nuggets from Buckeyes.
Well, they were purchased. He does not have them in hand yet.
He hasn't earned them yet. Let's see what the shot from the Atlanta airport looks like.
Now I know what it's like Shaggy, Daphne, Velma. Like these are basically Kevin's Scooby snacks.
Uh-huh.
And if you wanted to do something, if you want to send him into like a scary place, like no, I got your Kevin snacks, your Noonie snacks.
Your Noonie snacks, yes. We'll see if he earns them. We did have a very funny moment in our trip down here where we stopped at Buckeyes in Kentucky. And
the first available
Buckeyes. And I walked out of the bathroom there and saw someone from another Ohio State media company there. I was like, oh, what are you doing here? Well, we also and I walked about 20 feet, and then I saw another person from a three different Columbus media outlets were at the same time on Friday morning. So, yes, everyone had the same basic plan. We have a super chat from Mike Farino. He wants to know, why is Monday 10 days away? Here's the thing. My advice to you is, if you feel like Monday is too far away, what you should do is start working in media covering Ohio State, because what then you will feel is there's not nearly enough time until the game to get done all of the work that we would like to get done. So if you think, boy, the game is too far away, that's my proposed
I
solution.
wish it was 10 days away.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Maybe 4, maybe 6.
Yeah. I would take 2 extra days. 2 extra days.
You're trying to
get
squeeze in
everything done.
6 days of stuff into the 3
Yeah.
or 4 days.
Yeah. Yes. TK wants to know if you're drinking a Coors. No, that is a Diet Dr. Pepper. Jordan wants to know why people are chanting "Let's go Ducks." I don't know. Maybe it's like the sarcastic SEC thing. I don't know. Maybe they're saying "Let's go Bucks." I don't know. There's no way to know. Craig says, "Was there 10 years ago to send them off? Not today. Feeling like bad juju. Talk me down." I mean, my suspicion is that the game will come down to something other than whether you were there or not at the team send-off. But listen, if they lose, I don't want to say it's exclusively your fault.
Greg, I know where you live. I'll let people know where you live,
mm-hmm.
and you know how the lunatic fringe can get. So just be aware.
Mm-hmm.
He just found out I knew where he lived. He didn't know that before.
Kevin says he needs his beaver nugs.
Well, that's not up to us.
We'll see how the shot from the airport looks. I don't know what to tell you. Yes, Ruff says that Atlanta traffic is almost as bad as Chicago and LA. Yeah,
it wasn't bad once we got into downtown, but getting to downtown was
getting through the whole the area north. It's like Cobb County north, where the Braves' new ballpark is. There's 2 big interstates that intersect there, and there's just a ton of traffic for a little while. Once you get downtown, as you said, it wasn't too bad, but it's a little aggressive on the north side. Yes, Dodd Draco wants to know, is that the Ohio State buses? Yes, that's the Woody. Yes, as he figured out. Yes, this is the Ohio State team loading up at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center right now, and we that's where they are right now. What we're going to do is to reiterate for people, because we've had people jump on now. We've got the shot of the Buckeyes getting ready to depart the Woody right now. Notre Dame is going to arrive in Atlanta in under an hour, supposedly, if they're on schedule. Covering these has been fun because sometimes they're 20 minutes early. Sometimes they're 30 minutes late.
Well, and sometimes everything goes perfectly, and other times everything goes exactly wrong.
Yes, yes.
You got to stay malleable.
And you have none of these have been the same. The setup, none of them have been the same. We're here cheering, so let's see.
Jack Sawyer coming through.
All right, Jack Sawyer. Thank you, Mark. You heard Mark there. Jack Sawyer. Boy, I don't know where he ranks on the list of most popular Buckeyes of all time. But if they finish the deal on Monday night and he plays even a small role in it, he is going to be very high. You've got Emeka Ibuka real close to the top of some all-time Ohio State, subjective or objective record lists, and Travion Henderson moving up there as well. Some of the more subjective lists, like most popular Buckeyes of all time, Jack Sawyer might be working his way up there.
Well, and he's had to overcome some doubting from the Ohio State fans, and he said it himself. His first 2 years, he underperformed. Really good piece in the Players Tribune that he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't checked that out after this. But his strip 6, I mean, you're talking about a top 3 play in Ohio State football history if they go on and win.
Mm-hmm.
And really the only other one that I would put in the same category is Holy Buckeye.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and yeah.
He's great.
Emeka Ibuka.
All right, here comes Emeka Ibuka. Thank you, Mark.
Yep. 3 receptions away from the school record.
Yeah, he's getting close. He is. He's real close. He's
Luke Montgomery coming through.
Luke Montgomery,
Northwest Ohio zone.
Yep.
Favorite son.
Finley, Ohio. Yep.
I'm going regional. That way I can incorporate him into
smart.
To my county.
Rose Quartz Lemonade says, "What's up, my guys? Hope all is well." Asked Kevin earlier, "Is this the greatest Buckeyes defense of all time?" I was born in '95. We've had better individuals before, but this is the most consistently violent. Boy, it's
Caden Curry.
Caden Curry, yep, defensive end. Yeah, this is one that it feels like we can give you sort of an off-the-cuff answer right now, but boy, if they win on Monday, this is one that deserves a statistical deep dive because in a lot of ways, it's got to be up there. I mean,
Caleb Downs coming through.
Noted safety.
Yeah, rather famous part of a pretty good Ohio State defense. Yeah, he's been a big part. They had that graphic up during one of the playoff games where it showed, all these guys are fourth year in the program, or fourth year starters, or third year starters, and Caleb Downs,
Alec Williams.
So, if you're picking up on the pattern here, a lot of starters are on this first box. This is a lot of the defensive starters, but Mika Ibuka as well. A lot of the starters on that first.
Is this a sign that Luke Montgomery starting his second game in a row?
Well, I mean, it certainly seems like he's probably in that mix. He played, I think, every snap at left tackle, right? At left guard in the last game, I believe so.
Austin Sarah was under the weather, a little banged up. I'm still thinking about this best defense ever, and you probably have to set a time frame because
Kenyatta Jackson, Ty Hamilton.
Once you get too far back in history, you're playing a different kind of game.
Right. Yeah, it's a different and right now it's a slightly less offense-heavy era than it was 5 years ago. Kenyatta Jackson and Ty Hamilton there as Mark was saying. Jeremiah Smith, maybe. It's like people screaming for JJ. It looks big for Jeremiah. Is that Mitchell Mountain? Who is that? People were fooling me. Now. Well, I was going based on the audience reaction there, and I think that that did not look like Jeremiah Smith from where I am. A lot of people asking me how I feel about being in Brave. Never great. But better now than I would have in many previous seasons.
When we're asked about the greatest defense of all time, like I immediately, I don't know if this is correct, I go to 2016.
Yeah,
because some of the individual talents there, but also they were a very good defense, but also they did give up. I don't know how many of the 31 points to Clemson were theirs. I think there's a pick six in there. But that's one that always stands out to me for a number. Like you've got Nick Bosa and Malik Hooker on the same team. Like that's pretty good. And the corners that they had.
Yeah. And Mike says I had a post about this on the board, but the defense statistically compares similar to the 2021 Georgia.
JT's coming.
It's got to be such a fascinating experience for these guys who they were where they were a month ago. 1 month ago today, they were 4 days away from that Tennessee game. And you had, we're sitting.
Jermaine Matthews.
Right. These two got the guard, and we're looking at each other like, what? And then here they are getting ready to get on the bus, and substantial favorites to win the national championship game. Well, I mean, this is unquestionably. There was a conversation about which teams would benefit the most from the expansion of the 12-team playoff. Unquestionably, Ohio State has been the biggest beneficiary this year. If this is a 4-team playoff era, they lose to Michigan, miss the Big Ten championship game, have a bunch of guys leave early for the draft, and they're playing a meaningless bowl game, the Fiesta Bowl against Arizona State or something, and no one cares.
Sonny Styles
did this opportunity, and instead, here they are getting ready to get on a plane to go to the national championship. That is a remarkable.
Will Howard.
Will Howard, always a man of the people.
He's bus 2.
Up.
If bus 1 is full, or if
Will
this
Howard
is
with the play fake.
rookie hazing.
Yeah. Okay. So, and yeah, just for people who are wondering, this is, again, we keep adding audience.
Yes.
This is Ohio State leaving from the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. They're getting on these buses. The bus is supposed to leave about 4:30. All times are approximate with this kind of thing. As we
Denzel.
There's Denzel Burke. What's the update on his health? The update on his health is he's expected to play. There is no one. The two guys that I saw a question about earlier, and I have these sort of starred, and we'll get back to them once the team has departed, and we have an hour or so to kill before the Notre Dame. Well, not an hour. It can be Notre Dame's supposed to arrive at about 5:15 Eastern. So we're going to That's obviously a concern. That's though. I think there's any reason to think those guys are not.
No, I've seen JT for a while play after the ankle injury. So I talked with Denzel Burke after the game. He was not thrilled, but he seemed he was certainly well enough to talk. Until you're maybe seeing them in practice, you're gonna have some people concerned, but I expect we've not been told that. I wouldn't expect. I expect
Here comes Ryan Day and his family.
Here comes Ryan Day, and yes, the answer. I feel like we've said this, but yes, this is live. Ohio State leaving into one of the most popular people in Columbus. That's how I feel about it.
New Hampshire's own. Apparently, you must be from the coast to stop and still play with the top of Buckeye.
That's true. Ryan Day only barely stopped because it's just a tiny piece of Hampshire that touches the ocean, just between 20 miles. What a roller coaster this last month and a half has to have been for him too. I mean, it cannot have been a lot of fun to be in Columbus in early December, and then now they are in the spot where they are, and you win this game. The third active head coach of the national championship. Kirby Smart and Dabo Sweeney. No one else among active coaches has a national championship. So you win one more football game, and you're seeing some real exclusive company.
Ryan Day wins this one. I believe he moves to 70-10 as the head coach. Pretty darn good.
Pretty darn good indeed.
An 875 percentage. 73 right now.
Yeah. Mike Reno says on the topic of defense, think about how it must be for the 2020 and 2021 guys from on one of the worst OSU defenses ever to now maybe one of the best. That is, and we have the crowd is very overpowering compared to us. So yeah, and we're going to be, we will talk as loudly as we can now. And as soon as they're on the buses, it'll just be us here for a while. And then we'll get back to, once Notre Dame lands, we'll get back to it. So yeah, we don't have like super fantastic audio mixing abilities right here. This is sort of set up a little quick and dirty.
But yeah, for like guys like Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, who were part of that 2021 defense, and to see the points that they gave up and the difficulties they had, and needing to get a new defensive coordinator. I was thinking about that today with Kerry Combs coming over, and you had
Quinshawn Judkins coming.
All right, here comes Quinshawn.
But you've got that COVID you had to hand over the reins to Matt Barnes. Just a disaster in so many ways.
Yeah. And so it's only allowed when they're cheering when people come out. So yeah, so
closing up shop. It looks like about to take off.
All right, so the looks like they are wrapping up. So when the buses leave, we will punch Mark out of the show, and then we'll have some time to answer some questions. It looks like they're packing it up. So then they will head. If you missed it earlier, they will head out to the airport. They have already passed through TSA screening inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. That is a nice luxury that they have. They take their TSA screening at the Woody, so now they just will drive the buses like right out to the tarmac and hop off, walk across the tarmac, get on the airplane, and go. It is pretty quick, and they will be here. They will be on the ground in Atlanta at the airport in less than 3 hours. About 7:15 Eastern for the Buckeyes arrival, and then less than an hour, about 45 minutes is when Notre Dame is supposed to arrive. Well, we have Kevin over at the airport right now, so he'll have that coverage for you. And our plan, our understanding is that we will get Notre Dame arriving. You can see them coming in. We'll get them. There should be some kind of a press conference set up, at least a brief press conference. I don't know. It's probably not going to be what it was in the Cotton Bowl where we got guys for 45 minutes. It's probably going to be much quicker than that. But,
I believe like 5 minutes with Ryan Day.
Yeah. So it's going to be pretty quick, but we'll get a little something there, and then once they get there, we'll wrap things up.
Can't leave without Ryan Day's Get Back coach.
Oh, there you go, Quinn Temple. Ryan Day's Get Back coach, and he's the ops director. I think is his official title. He's in charge of all the little details.
I think we're at the head count and get out of here portion of the show.
All right, so wrapping things up. I see bus doors closing. When those buses head out, we will thank Mark and wrap things up. There they go, off to the airport.
Tom, how long is the travel to the airport?
Okay, the travel to the airport is going to be about from campus. I'm going to guess they have a police escort. This time of day, especially 4:30 going on 670 East. I do that trip quite a bit. I'm going to guess they have a police escort. So you get there, that's probably about a 20, with a police escort, that's probably about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that. Get on the airplane around, you're probably getting on the airplane around 5-ish. They screw around with whatever paperwork they have to do, and you get cleared for taxi, take off, all that at 5:15-ish, 5:30. And then an hour and some change flight to Atlanta, and you taxi around a little bit there, and that gets you about to 7:15. That's probably about right. So there we go. The buses. It might be the last of the buses headed out. Yep, that looks like the last of the buses headed out. So there you go. Buckeyes have officially left the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Thank you to Mark for his coverage up in Columbus. We'll punch him out. And now, punch, not literally, not right. And now that we have, say thank you to Mark for his coverage there, and we'll have plenty more coming for you a little bit later on. But for now, Tony, we got to talk about our friends at Grateful Griddle. Tony, you want to tell them about Grateful Griddle, or shall I?
No. We can both tell them about Grateful Griddle. It's a fantastic Columbus-based food truck where you can, if you're planning your next event, you can make it unforgettable with Grateful Griddle. It's the Columbus's favorite food truck, serving up smash burgers, gourmet sandwiches, and, of course, good vibes. Book your catering today at gratefulgriddleoh.com. Tom, good vibes, as always. Mm-hmm. Saw some good vibes there from the crowd there at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. And, of course, as always, thank you to Grateful Griddle.
Mm-hmm. Thank you to Grateful Griddle. Thank you to Todd. He says, this might be a dumb question. Are they taking the bus to the airport or all the way to Atlanta? They are definitely taking the bus just to the airport. Ohio State basically never buses anywhere. There's an NCAA rule, and I don't remember the exact distance, but it's 180 miles or 200 miles. And if you're that distance, you have to bus one way. And Ohio State does that for Michigan, I believe. But I think Michigan is the only team that they play in the Big Ten that is close enough that falls under that rule. Everywhere else they fly. And you'd think, oh, Bloomington, Indiana, that's really close. Indianapolis, Indiana, that's really close. They are getting out of there after the game and going to the airport and flying home. And Ohio State is on the ground in Columbus, generally, in some cases, before we finish up post-game shows. It's remarkable, but
it's infuriating is what it is.
A little bit, but they have to get on to the next game. They have recruiting stuff they've got to do. They have their time, Tony, arguably more valuable than ours. Some say. Some are saying their time more valuable than others. But yeah, they fly. They fly everywhere they go. They have, think about the amount of time between now and kickoff and how much is at stake with that game on Monday. Every minute is valuable. They're going to get there as fast as they can. They, like I said, they go through security at the Woody. So they can just walk onto the plane, basically, at the airport, get on the plane, close the door, go, land. Ryan Day is going to, get here, talk for 5 minutes. They're going to get on the buses. They're going to be back at the hotel. They get checked in at the hotel, and they might have a meeting tonight before. Yeah. They probably have a meeting tonight in Atlanta, and then they hit the ground running tomorrow on Saturday. We have access to. It starts with media day in the morning, 9 a.m., and then we'll get a chance to talk to Ohio State. We'll get a chance to talk to Notre Dame, and then we're going to have access to practices, a little bit of practice window for both teams over at the stadium tomorrow afternoon, Saturday afternoon. So that's sort of the plan for Saturday. Sunday, they'll do, that's the last sort of serious practice on Thursday during a normal week, Saturday during this week, because the game's on Monday. Right. All these games are on different days. It's really messing with my head. But they will have a practice Saturday. That'll be kind of the last real practice. They'll do kind of a walk through the Sunday equivalent of best Fridays in football. They'll do that on Sunday and then game on Monday. So that's kind of the basic that's kind of the basic structure of how this whole week is going to go. We have a ton of questions that we can get through here. And so, yes, Charles says we were talking about a new defensive coordinator. Yes, that was a new defensive coordinator a while back. Yeah. That's not that was in response to a question about some of the guys on this team having been on the 2020 and 2021 Ohio State defenses, which
there aren't a lot of guys who are on the 2020 defense. Ty Hamilton, Mitchell Melton, Cody Simon. Yeah, and I think that's about it. Lathan Ransom. Yeah. Yep. Boy, what a 5 years for Lathan Ransom. Yeah. Yep.
Troy says, see this stuff in sports movies, very cool to see it happening in real life. Yeah, this has been very much this story, a sports movie kind of experience where Ohio State really got kind of punched in the gut not long ago and has made the absolute most of it since then.
Usually there's supposed to be like 3 acts. I think there's been kind of 4 in this one where you get punched in the gut and the second act starts against Oregon and then you overcome that. But then boom, you get punched in the gut again. It's like, that's not how it's supposed to happen. It's supposed to be, you're supposed to overcome this and then build towards the end. But that's not exactly how it's happening. It's more drama. People want more drama. That's the one thing I hear from Buckeye fans all the time. Yeah. Tony, if we could just get more drama. I'm tired of these easy games. I want more drama.
Yeah, Glasswing Butterfly says that was fun being part of the Load Up. Buckeye Huddle does it again. Thanks. Yeah, we were happy to do that. We were trying to figure out how to make that all work. There's a lot of different moving parts here, and we were even emailing in the car on the way down here, trying to figure out, okay, do we need to go to the airport? Should just Kevin go to the airport? Just trying to figure out the different moving parts.
Do you want to tell them how this actually happened in terms of what we were thinking about wanting to do after the game, where we were going to go?
Oh yeah. Well, we had talked about. Normally they fly back after the game. We had talked about, okay, have Mark go to the Woody at 3 a.m. when they get back.
If they win,
and continue the post-game show to that point. Now, the flaw in that plan is if they win, they stay over. So they will regardless. Yeah, they stay overnight. So there is no overnight arrival. They will get back to Columbus on Tuesday.
And there's definitely no overnight show.
No,
so that's the biggest.
Well, the show's going to go late one way or the other on Monday night. We'll see. So yeah, go ahead and set yourself a reminder to join us for the pregame show and postgame show. We are going to have a ton of coverage. A little disappointed. TK says, so disappointed we didn't say Mark crawling into the baggage storage container and go for a ride to the airport. Well, you got to remember, it's going to be pretty dark in there, so it's not going to be a great shot. Also going to be sort of jostling. And then
a lot of muffled screams.
Not sure they would really appreciate him being inside the inside the secure area at the airport. But yes, it is a we give you as much access as we can without getting people thrown in jail. They go out of, Fake Jim Knowles wants to know, they go out of the John Glenn Airport, the main Columbus Airport. They fly out of the, not out of the like main terminal. They're over kind of by the NetJets section. That's where they have their thing.
You got Mark hanging out there?
Yeah, no. Oh yeah, Mark is here. Mark, hi.
How we doing?
Good. What was the crowd like?
There was a few hundred people here. Like, there's a legitimate line of traffic getting out of the parking lot. I'm just sitting here in the parking lot, but I hope I was able to get enough for you guys and audio. Like, yeah. I had no chance of hearing you. I'm just happy they let me inside the ropes, but for the media, the crowd was literally like 5 feet behind us. So I had zero chance of hearing you. I was just, if I saw someone, I called out, "Hey, so-and-so's coming." I have no idea if you heard me or not, but
Yeah, and Mika wants to know, was JT Tuimoloau walking okay? He looked like he was walking okay.
Yep. He dropped something. I don't know if it was his phone or what, but he dropped something on the way to the bus. But yeah, he's walking fine.
Okay, and Quinshawn didn't drop anything. Travion didn't drop anything, right? Ball security was good with them.
The backs kept their Chick-fil-A bags secure. Yes.
Good. Very
wow,
important.
they're getting Chick-fil-A before they arrive. They'll be getting plenty of Chick-fil-A while they're here.
Yeah, important to not let them go through a cookout like we did. That it is nap time after you go through a cookout. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through to see if there's any questions. I mean, you saw everyone you were expecting to see. I assume no surprises, no drama, no rumors of secret injuries.
No, nothing like that. Ryan Day was very, as you guys probably saw, was very friendly with the crowd, was very jacked up by the turnout, and took some time. I think signed a few autographs and shook some hands. And it was everyone was pretty pumped about Jack Sawyer, of course, got everyone riled up a little bit before he hopped on the bus. So it was a good turnout. There was a guy playing all the different fight songs on the bagpipes. That was interesting.
Bagpipes, wow.
Yeah. So Jordan, it was interesting.
Jordan Kapler has the question of the entire postseason. We get asked this every game. What was the crowd makeup there? Was it 80-20 Buckeye fans? What was it?
Yeah, I think 100-0. I think it was 100-0. I didn't see any Michigan fans trying to, put any voodoo on the Buckeyes before they left or anything like that. Don't think we had any, any spies or anything from any program, any rival programs. So I think it was 100-0. Yeah, that would never happen. No one would ever spy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any big thoughts on? Well, I guess while we have you here, any recruiting stuff that we need to be keeping an eye on this week? I feel like I've been very unplugged from recruiting coverage for the last month because we've had a little bit of other stuff going on. Any recruiting news? I know there's been some. Well, they had what? Damon Wilson obviously did not happen. He ended up going to Missouri. Any recruits that we should be keeping an eye on or names to know or anything?
I think the interesting part about the last 2 or 3 weeks is that, like, obviously these other schools are out there going into high schools and recruiting and doing all that stuff. So Ohio State's got their support staff out there doing that. Now they won't be doing it obviously over the weekend or anything like that, or into Monday and Tuesday. I think schools are closed Monday anyway. So, but they've had Ed Terwilliger and Mark Pantoni and Nick Murphy, and they've had like 4 or 5 support staffers out hitting high schools. So they stopped and saw Adam Guthrie, a big time offensive lineman in Ohio. Terwilliger was down there, and so that's one that they've kind of turned the heat up on. That's probably something to watch here in the next several weeks as they continue to do that. They've really since they offered him later than some of the other Ohio linemen, but they're turning the heat up there. Kind of one of the hot rumors right now is that Albert Hill may be deciding sooner than later. We'll see what happens there. I know Oregon stopped in to see him this past week because of course they did. And so you've got head coaches like Kirby Smart's going around, and so it's an interesting time right now because obviously Ryan Day is not doing those things. Neither is Jim Knowles or Larry Johnson or Brian Hartline or any of those guys. But it is kind of an interesting recruiting pitch of I think the glass half empty is like, well, what are we losing ground because or because Ryan Day's not out on the road? I think the glass half full is the way to look at it. And Ryan Day gets to call these kids and be like, hey, sorry, I couldn't stop by your school like Kirby Smart did. I was preparing for the national championship game. Like, I think that's a pretty good recruiting pitch that Ryan Day and Marcus Freeman have in their back pockets here as this line continues to this line is crazy. I'm not going to be able to get out of here even if I wanted to.
You're going to be here through the Notre Dame arrival.
Yeah, exactly.
Russ wants to know if Kevin drew the short straw and did not get to go with us. Kevin is at the Atlanta airport right now. You will be seeing video from Kevin and possibly hearing from Kevin in about half an hour or so when Notre Dame gets there. So that's where he is right now. So if I was still in my local TV news days, we would make everyone record video standing in front of the camera and just holding a microphone and nodding, and we'd say we have team coverage. That's what this basically is. TK would like to thank you, Mark, for not standing next to the bagpipe guy. I will second that. Well done. Good choice.
I didn't have much choice where I stood. They were like, you stay right over there. We'll let you in the ropes, but you stay right over there with the other TV people. And the bagpipes guy was late arriving, so he was kind of behind the crowd. So I wasn't sure how much of that you were able to even pick up on the audio. But yes, I didn't have any choice in that.
Like, annoying loud bagpipe guy gets us a copyright strike, and we can't monetize the video because of the copyright.
Jose Alvarez wants to know if fans are able to watch Arrival at the hotel. I assume we haven't been given the team hotel, because we normally get that when we're going to the team hotel. If you're there and you know where it is, you can go there and stand outside, presumably. And if you happen to be staying at the same hotel, you can go into the lobby. But we generally only know the team hotel. We really only ask if we're going there, and that's where we're meeting them. Like when they go to Penn State, we have to go to the team hotel to get them arriving and talk to Ryan Day and all that kind of stuff. This one, we're talking to him at the airport, so that's not a necessary part of the process. Rose Quartz Lemonade says, how the boys been playing offensively since the meeting post Michigan? What are the major changes you've noticed scheme wise, other than counters? They're playing free. Defense has been this way all year. I mean, Mark, you may have thoughts on this. I have talked to Ross, and Ross has sort of thrown out the idea that it feels like Ryan Day is more involved in the pass game since the Michigan game. And then Day this week during interviews sort of talked about the fact that, he's been a little more involved. It feels like that's one of the big changes we've seen.
It feels like they've kind of scrapped the idea that they have to establish the run in the first quarter, and that they can instead kind of open things up with the passing game for the running game later. So it seems like they've kind of flipped the script on that, and they've been kind of, again, utilizing the quick passing game early to kind of set up their run later. I think that's been the big thing, is they're not so stubborn about, we have to start running the football in the first quarter, and if we don't, then, all is lost offensively. I think they've realized, look, we can go to Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Ibuka and those guys early, and then we'll get some lighter boxes, and we'll be able to run against them later with the lighter boxes. And that's actually how it's played out the last several games.
Yeah, it's been a little bit more of a pass to run rather than run to pass.
But also the running that they're doing, there's more gap scheme stuff and some more pulling, which the offensive line loves. Mm-hmm. They love getting out and running and attacking a defense. So they like that move more, and it's maybe some less zone. But Ryan Day talked about this. How do you beat a team that just finds a way? And yes, you still want to run the ball, but one of the things he said is when you have the big shots, you have to be able to hit them. Like when you have those opportunities and you take them, you have to be able to hit them. And they weren't really able to do that against Texas for whatever reason, perhaps the safety help and things like that. But in this one, you'd like to get a couple of easy scores against the Notre Dame defense that is kind of going to make life a bit of a pain, and so is the offense. So when you have an opportunity to hit some big ones with these guys, with Emeka Ibuka, who is 3 catches and 95 yards away from both career records at Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm sure they would like to get him there, but those are not the number one goals, certainly. Do want to shout out a couple of Notre Dame fans in the comments. Irish Gordy Knott says, "What's up, Buckeyes? Looking forward to a great matchup." And Beefeater ND08 says, "Just enjoying the view from the other side. We appreciate you guys being here." And here you go. And here is the view from the Notre Dame side. There's Kevin punching himself into the show. This is the Notre Dame plane arriving in Atlanta. So we'll see them get off that plane. And the plan is for them to get off the plane, and then I believe we should get a Marcus Freeman, sort of a short Marcus Freeman press conference. And when they get here, when they get off that plane, Notre Dame coming in, their arrival was at 5:15 p.m., so they're a little early. As we said earlier, these teams arrive 20 minutes early or 40 minutes late. That is how all of these are, and you don't know what it is. So that's kind of how Ohio State press conferences run.
Yeah, that's true.
During the Wednesday evening press conferences. I think I hear a band playing there at the on Kevin's feed.
Yeah, so I don't know what the sound mixing is going to be like now.
Yeah.
But at least with the airport, once they arrive, you don't have to worry about them getting through traffic. It's like, we've landed.
Yes.
Now we've got to drive. It's, well, how long is that going to take?
Yeah. We had Notre Dame, Oregon got there early at the Rose Bowl. Ohio State got there late at the Rose Bowl. Texas got there, I think, basically right on time. Ohio State got there late at the Cotton Bowl. And then Notre Dame now early here. And I mean, Ohio State certainly departed on time, so hopefully they are arriving on time. This is at just the Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson Airport. There was a question in the comments that I want to get to real quick, just because I think it was people were wondering, why does Ohio State not fly out of the Ohio State Airport? Yeah, here it is. Sean Lindsay wants to know, why does Ohio State not fly out of the Ohio State Airport? And the answer is because they fly on you see how the size of that airplane is? A big airplane. Ohio State Airport, Don Knotts Airport, as one Columbus news anchor famously called it at one point. Don Scott Airport is the actual name. The runway is not nearly long enough, so they have to fly out of the main airport, because that's a big airplane they're flying on there. So
Penn State runs into the same issue when they're flying all the way out west, where they have to fly out of Harrisburg.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's a big airplane, and you need a big airplane to fly across country, to fly that many people across country. And so in order to do that, you need a long runway, because it takes a while to get up to speed.
Do you think there are people, are there team members that are the people who get up immediately when the flight lands and start walking towards the front? I don't have a huge problem with people who get up like you, Tom, but the people that start walking and already trying to exit.
Standing up is one thing. Standing up and trying to cut the line is another. Yes, Market X, I think, with a very astute assessment here. If you fly out of the OSU airport, the plane is hitting a tower that Sam's Club on the north side. Yeah, that's probably not going to be a good thing. Yes, and so David Sousley says, is the team at Atlanta Hartsfield right now? This is the Notre Dame team plane landing at Atlanta Hartsfield Airport right now. You'll see them get off that airplane in just a minute. I'm going to guess they will probably deplane basically the same way that the Ohio State team does, where you might see one or two staffers, but then Marcus Freeman will be pretty early coming off of that plane.
So give us all of the names that you can as you see them coming off of that plane.
And there you go. So there's the Notre Dame buses there. So most of the players are not going to walk past us. You'll see them maybe coming down the steps and walking over there. What will probably happen, based on previous ones of these, you'll see Marcus Freeman come down the stairs. He'll walk over towards where that camera position is, where Kevin is, and then the players will head over to the buses. So we won't get a chance to talk to players. It'll just be Freeman is most likely how this will go.
Kevin, if you could just tell people to get down.
Yes. Yeah. If you want to, the guys, the security guys, yes, you want to just yell at them and tell them to get out of the way. I'm going to guess that's an Atlanta report there. Right. Doing a live shot. Now we're just waiting for them to pull that down. I also wonder how close that marching band is to.
Ways away.
Yeah. This is again Notre Dame coming in right now, and we do have a bunch of questions that we will get to in a minute, because we are going to have a nice long gap between. We'll have probably almost a 2-hour gap between when this is all done and when the Buckeyes are getting here. So we'll have plenty of time to answer your questions. Throw those questions in the chat. We will get to all of them, I promise. We have a bunch of other listener questions that we need to get to as well. So
we've still got people asking if the Buckeyes arrived at the hotel, who are just probably tuning in. They have just left the Woody about 10 minutes, 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And so they'll be headed to the airport. They're getting to the airport any minute now. They will be in the air shortly, and they are scheduled to land around 7:15. Yep. But Notre Dame was scheduled to land around 5:15, and you see what's going on now.
Yep. So just again to reiterate the point, there you go. Opening the airplane door,
and they will jump down the inflatable slide.
remember, hands up when you jump out of that slide. This is Notre Dame getting off the plane. Ohio State just left for the airport in Columbus. We'll have their arrival in a couple hours. This is Notre Dame. They're just getting out of that airplane right now, pulling the baby gate closed so no one falls. Very smart. Good security. But here come the Irish off that plane. Looking for Marcus Freeman.
See if everybody makes it down safely.
Yeah. Don't want Chevy Chase making fun of you on Saturday Night Live.
Sure don't. Good undated reference.
Thank you. Topical as always. There is Marcus Freeman headed down the stairs right now.
Looking very casual.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, he pulls off the cool and casual look very
is there a
effortlessly.
game?
Yes.
Is that right?
Is that right? So here comes Marcus Freeman. He should be headed over to us, we think, hopefully. That should be there's Brett Hancock from the College Football Playoff Committee. He's one of the folks that helps run the CFP. He's headed over now with Marcus, and we'll get a chance to hear from him. And Mark, when Marcus comes over, I will probably end up punching you out of the show just so we can take Marcus full.
Yep.
Hopefully traffic is cleared out for you.
It just did a minute ago, and I'm under strict orders to take home some ties for dinner. So I gotta. I'll jump on with you guys a little later.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
All right. So there is Marcus Freeman on your right-hand side there. They're talking to, I don't know who that reporter is. I'm going to guess it's someone from the College Football Playoff.
Maybe airportdaily.com.
Possibly. It's either someone from ESPN or someone from the College Football Playoff. Generally, they will have the College Football Playoff folks talk to them real briefly and throw something in the media portal for everyone who cannot cover the actual arrival event. But there you go. The Notre Dame players coming down the stairs there. I am not as well versed in the body language of Notre Dame players as I am in Ohio State, so I can't necessarily pick out guys just sort of by their posture. But those are definitely Notre Dame players players and coaches walking down the stairs.
Casual whites.
After Labor Day, or Tony, does the clock reset after New Year's? It resets. Okay.
Does. Although it is still football season, so I don't know that it can't really reset just yet.
I don't know. Fashion faux pas? I don't know. We'll bring in our fashion experts later. There is Marcus Freeman, and Mike Flagg says, I think that Mike Flagg is a CFP Mike Flagg. So there's Marcus Freeman shaking hands with the reporter.
Put sunglasses
on.
Oh, here we go.
That means he just made a really good pun if he puts the sunglasses on. Speaking of topical, timely references.
You got them all tonight, baby.
So, again, the Irish getting off the airplane out at the Atlanta airport right now. Buckeyes will be here. Here's Marcus Freeman. We'll punch ourselves out of the show and let you see him.
Good to see you. You know, every team dreams of making this trip. How does it feel to land here in Atlanta ahead of Monday's national championship?
We're excited. This whole week's been exciting, humbling. We're really looking forward to this opportunity. So really focusing on the things it takes to really have the outcome that you want, and that's continue to focus on the preparation and staying in the moment. But we're excited to be down here in Atlanta, Georgia, ready for this opportunity we have ahead of us.
Marcus, welcome to Atlanta. What was the vibe like on the team playing down here, and to land and have one more opportunity, guaranteed opportunity? How does it feel now?
Yeah, I was just telling Molly the same thing. We practiced for a while this morning, and so I'm sure a couple players and a couple coaches caught a nap and rode the hour and a half plane right down here. When you're playing a lot of meaningful games, you don't play in a national championship every week, we know that, but we played in a lot of meaningful games, and you understand what the expectations are like. You understand what the plane ride is going to be like. Monday, it'll be different. We know the excitement, the lights are going to be brighter. Obviously, being the last one in the national championship game, but the plane ride was a plane ride. We're ready to roll.
Hi, Mark. I'm to Barrett, WBNS TV. Has it sunk in? You're playing Ohio State Monday night for the national title. Just how pumped are your guys? How pumped are you? And You know, I know it's a little weird. You were a Buckeye at one time, but now you're leading the Irish.
Yeah, it sunk in. The minute after we beat Penn State, we won the Orange Bowl. We knew what was next, and so.
Hey, Coach Freeman, instead of AP as we sit, what would you like to tell your fans, and also what have you learned from some of your mentors of playing in this type of game, big game?
You know, the Notre Dame fans have been amazing. It's a great reminder of the privilege you have to be a part of this program and to be a part of this Notre Dame network that we're all a part of. And so we're grateful that they're going to be here in person and those that will be watching. We're really grateful for all the support. What was the second question?
Mentors, what have your mentors told you about playing?
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of people that I keep in contact that have played in championship games or the final game, that have been in a position in some type of sport in mine. And to a T, most of them say the same thing, is that you got to continue to approach the game the way you've done all year. And everybody understands the magnitude of the game, but the approach and preparation shouldn't change. And that's what we've been focusing on.
Hi, Marcus. Dave Holmes, ABC6, Fox 28, Columbus. Two good offenses, but maybe the two best defenses in the entire country. What kind of game are you expecting on Monday night?
You know what? We'll see what the game dictates, how the game goes. You know, we know our defense has a huge challenge against this offense that is as explosive as you'll see all year in terms of the run and the pass. It's going to be a great challenge. We're going to have to be able to stop the run and defend them in the pass game and limit some of the explosive pass plays that they create every single week. So we expect it to be about a heavyweight fight. We look forward to it.
Charles Owen with the Associated Press. This isn't your first trip to Atlanta this year. Will familiarity with Mercedes-Benz Stadium be in your favor on Monday night?
We hope so. You know, now we'll be on the other side of the field. We'll be in a different locker room, but we have played here. We know what it's like. You know, each team will have two opportunities to go into the stadium and practice a little bit. So by the time Monday gets here, I think both teams will be comfortable with the environment. And so it's still going to be about what happens when the ball's kicked off. Good. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
So that was Marcus Freeman at the airport in Atlanta, getting the last few folks off of that plane and over onto the buses there.
Mika says he looked nervous. He did look fuzzy.
Well, yeah, and we are, as always, at the mercy of Wi-Fi wherever we are. The first thing we do when we get to a hotel like this is I just log on to different Wi-Fi networks in different places and run speed tests. And it's like, okay, we can run stuff in our room forever and a day. Down here, not bad. If we're on one network, not on the other. It is. This is kind of the joys of life on the road.
You never know what you're going to get out in the wild like that at the airport. So we do appreciate you guys being patient with us there on that one. But wanted to give you what we could from that. You heard almost everything that Marcus Freeman had to say.
Yep. And then it looks like Notre Dame is mostly done getting off those planes. We'll see. Hang on, I gotta take out the trash in the comments. All right, we're good. So I think we can punch. The video is frozen from the airport, so I'm gonna punch that out of the show right now. So thank you to Kevin for being out there. We will be back out there. He will have coverage of the Buckeyes team arrival. That's going to be in about 2 hours. Boy, just said that out loud, and boy, that's a while from now. We got to talk about some stuff.
We are now 1 hour in.
Yeah, we are now 1 hour in. So yes, we will.
After a nice 9+ hour drive. From Columbus, hit the road at 5:30. Oh, geez, hit the road like 11 and a half hours ago.
All right, so Yes, Notre Dame fans. Beefy Eater says, this is a conspiracy. OSU fans jamming the signal. Probably mostly bad Wi-Fi at the airport.
But
this
maybe.
This is why we're at the hotel and not out at the airport, because you never know what you get. And this was our sort of, this is our safe spot to be.
This is Beef Eater. This is what happens when Notre Dame plays Penn State. They get a little of the Penn State conspiratorial rubbing off on them.
No, this is the last one was a little tongue in cheek. I think this one, is absolutely true. You can tell Freeman is so sick of the press events, and that's how these are. This is all these bowl games. There's like this prescribed thing where you got to go talk to the media and you got to do these press conferences. And by the time you go through a full bowl week worth, you're so tired of answering the same question. Someone is, a media day event. Someone has always just walked up and they're about to ask you a question. You got asked 3 minutes and 12 seconds ago.
What's it like being in Atlanta?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Boy, is this your first time in Atlanta? What do you think so far? Like, well, I don't know. The airport's nice. You get, and the local media wants to know what you think of the town, and you have to say something nice about the town. And then, you get asked about your team. Well, your team has to stay focused, and boy, they've got to pay attention to the details, and it's all going to be about preparation. And you get asked about the other team, and Tony, the other team's very well coached. Got good players. You can tell they're very well coached, very disciplined. We're going to have to play our best football to beat them. And you do this for a month, and it's kind of like Groundhog Day. So I can understand why Marcus Freeman and Ryan Day and Jim Knowles and Chip Kelly and Al Golden and everyone else are probably quite sick of this by now.
We talked to Ryan Day on whatever day that was this week. Wednesday? I don't know. Wednesday, but it was only going to be for like 10 minutes, and he sat down. It's like you could clearly tell like we were bothering him. It's like what do you want? What do you people want? I'm busy, and not only lasts for a minute, and then he gets talking, but like he sits down. He's like, okay, let's go, because every minute that they're talking to us, they're not working on this game, and so they know that they are sacrificing time. Now, you can't overanalyze in the whole analysis by paralysis by analysis thing, but you would rather be working on the opponent than dealing with the media. Yeah.
And, Marcus Freeman is in a sort of unique position where he is sort of this beloved character by both fan bases in a way because of his time at Ohio State as a player, and still very good friends with James Laurinaitis to this day. James Laurinaitis, the linebackers coach for Ohio State. There's a lot of interesting.
No, I'm just showing. Everybody's asking if it's Coors Light.
No.
Sorry.
No, it's Coors Light in a Diet. It's Coors Light in a Diet Dr. Pepper can, obviously.
Now to the vodka.
These are coaching staffs and teams that have a lot of overlaps. I mean, just off the top of my head, James Laurinaitis used to be a linebackers GA at Notre Dame. Brian Hartline and James Laurinaitis and Marcus Freeman all played together at Ohio State in the Jim Tressel era. Al Washington, Notre Dame's defensive line coach, used to be a linebackers coach at Ohio State. Knows a lot of those guys on Ohio State defensive staff. Who else am I missing? Lorenzo Styles started his career at Notre Dame, now is playing at Ohio State, and a bunch of the guys who are at Notre Dame or at Ohio State were also very closely recruited by the other team. Kingston Viliamuwasa, number 27, true freshman linebacker who has started to play a bigger role in the defense. He was literally the first guy in the class of 2024 who Ohio State offered what looked for a long time like he was going to be a Buckeye. Ended up going to Notre Dame, sort of last-minute decision, and he is making an impact there. But there's a lot of overlap between these two teams, not to mention they just played 2 years in a row.
Yeah, and there's always been a rivalry between these two schools, or at least the fan bases, for sure. I remember, Tom, 1995 and 96, when they played, when that was scheduled, like years in advance, like this was the biggest thing ever that Ohio State and Notre Dame were going to play. So there's always been a connection, even from afar. And when you grow up in Ohio, you're also growing up with Notre Dame fans, just in case you weren't aware of that. And so there's always a rivalry there as well. But I agree with TK. Like Freeman, nothing I've seen from him is like, how like Brian Kelly kind of rubs people the wrong way.
What?
He's kind of abrasive.
LSU head coach Brian Kelly?
Famously, yes, from I believe Baton Rouge originally. But Marcus Freeman.
The Baton Rouge Kellys?
That's right. Freeman, people do like him, although I know Ohio State fans starting to fall out of favor based on some of the stuff he said about Ohio State in terms of, the kind of thing you pump up your own school rather than the one you're from. But yeah, I mean, he's a Buckeye. He's got gold pants. He's got he played for 2 national championships, if I recall.
He was on, I think he was on the 06 and 07 national teams, right? Yeah. He's he is definitely someone who has a lot of ties. And Jim, Beefeater says Jim Knowles gave Freeman his first loss as Notre Dame's head coach. Yeah, that's absolutely right. That was 2002. That was right. 2002 was his first. Yeah.
2002, Tom.
Yes.
Very much 2002.
No, 2022. Sorry, Tony. It's been a month. 2022. That was Freeman's first game as Notre Dame's head coach, and Jim Knowles in his first game as Ohio State's defensive coordinator. That was a little bit of a rock fight. That one ended up 21-10. That was a close one throughout. That was the long touchdown pass to former walk-on number 10, once offered by Iowa State.
Xavier Johnson.
Thank you very much. I was hoping you would. I wanted to see if you could come up with the answer. I had it the whole way.
That was also the game.
Sometimes, friends, I start a sentence and I'm like, I wonder where this one's going. I bet I can talk long enough to get there. And sometimes I turn to Tony and go, "What's the answer, smart guy?"
But that game was Lorenzo Styles Jr. introducing Jim Knowles to, I don't want to say big time college football because he did play some big time college football at Oklahoma State, but that was a nice welcome on the big play front for Knowles that Ohio State fans became overly familiar with over the course of that season when they baked in 5 plays a game and they made sure they were in every single pie.
They did. Yes, that was the year 1 of the Jim Knowles defense. And we knew coming in, you looked at the track record at Oklahoma State for Jim Knowles, and they went from like 91st in the nation to 30th in the nation to 5th in the nation. So you knew, okay, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve here with the defense. And there was. 2022 was, boy, this is a big step forward from 2021, but there's too many big plays. 2023 was, boy, this is a big step forward from 2022, but they gave up a couple touchdowns at the wrong times. And then 2024 has been best in the nation. We had a whole conversation earlier on the show about, is this the best in Ohio State history? And, you're getting into that point where you're having that conversation. Like Ferguson says, breaking news, Columbus man spotted running onto the runway at Atlanta Hartsfield, was last seen chasing rolling pickle jars. We will see if we can get an identity of that man for you a little later on. We will see. Gary Williams says, very excited for Marcus Freeman, the first African-American coach to coach a national championship, but I love my Buckeyes. And he is not only the first African-American, also the first Asian, I believe. He is a multiracial coach. It was interesting because you got to the semifinals and it was either going to be James Franklin or Marcus Freeman, who had that distinction of being the first African-American head coach to win a national championship. Marcus Freeman was a little bit emotional talking about that this week, where he talked about it, coaches never want to make it about themselves. Right. But so he talked about this in terms of, if this helps other young African-American coaches get their chance, great. I mean, you got to remember, this is his first head coaching job. This is a big stage to be stepping onto. He's been out there now 3 years. This is not a brand new thing for him now, but when he started, Ryan Day starting at Ohio State, that is not a starter job. That is not your first job out of college kind of job, as to be the head coach for the first time at Ohio State. To be your head coach for the first time at Notre Dame is just as big a stage. And these are two guys who are, thriving in places where you wouldn't necessarily think. There are a lot of people who would probably, the stage would be the stage would be too big, the lights would be too bright.
Yeah, I think playing at Ohio State and being part of that for years helps as well. Marcus Freeman, where you're under the Jim Tressel tree, where everything is kept so like nothing is bigger than you or what you're doing here. Like nothing is bigger than the program, the team. Like you can handle whatever you're put through, and I think he takes that forward with his program and is a very even keel guy. That's one of the things everybody says about Ryan Day. He's always the same. Like he's an even keel, and Marcus Freeman seems that same way. Also, we've seen both of these guys learn on the job, and Marcus Freeman has had more ups and downs because the talent levels have been different. But when when they've been good, they've been really good, and they've been. Again, the credit that you give to Marcus Freeman and that the Ohio State coaches have given them is that this is not an easy team. This is not the most talented team Ohio State's going to face in the playoffs, but it's going to be the toughest. And it's they reflect their coach, and I think both programs reflect their coach. And maybe Texas and Penn State do as well, and that's why they're not here.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And just to give you an update, and this is Ohio State is at the airport right now. If you're just joining us, we started this with Ohio State leaving the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, then had a short break, and then Notre Dame arriving at the Atlanta airport. Got an interview with Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman. So that's where we are right now. Buckeyes are at the airport in Columbus right now, at the John Glenn Airport in Columbus right now. They will be here in about 2 hours or so. Notre Dame was early. Hopefully the Buckeyes are a little early.
If
they're in a hurry to get here.
Yeah, if you try, you can do this in 90 minutes, right? From Columbus to Atlanta.
Fly here, yes, for sure. It's not that long a flight.
It's 45 minutes to Chicago.
Yeah, it's a 9-hour drive. Chicago's a 6-hour drive, and it's a 45-minute flight. This is an hour. This is like an hour 15, because this isn't a flight you make to connect all the time, Columbus to Atlanta. So it's not a long one. It's really more just, you land and then you got a taxi to the right spot and all that kind of stuff. Irish Gordy Knott says, I appreciate you saying it's just a big of a stage. Most OSU fans I interact with would never give Notre Dame that respect.
This is the two biggest names in college football.
Yeah, it is the two biggest fan bases in college football, period, full stop. Like, the reason that the SEC people always make it about the whole conference is because the Alabama fan base is big. You get big TV ratings in Birmingham. Birmingham is always the top of the TV ratings, but there's just not that many people there. Alabama, and just think about it in terms of electoral votes. How many electoral votes does Alabama have? Not nearly as many as Pennsylvania or Ohio or Michigan or Wisconsin. It's not that big a state, and it's divided. So the individual fan bases, there's a lot of fans there, but it's not the same fan base size. Ohio State is the only. I'm going to put append the asterisk. The only multi-decade power conference team in the state of Ohio. Yes, Cincinnati's in the Big 12 now. Okay. Okay. Yes, but that has been about a 3-year project, and Ohio State has been in the Big 10 for like a century. And so it has been Ohio State for literally a century. They have not lost to an in-state school for a century. Marcus Freeman and Luke Fickell got Cincinnati to an amazing spot a few years ago. But you know what I mean when I say Ohio State owns the whole state, and it's a big state. And Notre Dame has a really unique fan base because it's with all of the Catholics across the country that has sort of been like their sort of unofficial team. My parents living in the Northeast, and my mom was saying everyone she knows is rooting for Notre Dame in this game because there's a huge Catholic population in the Northeast with a ton of Italian ancestor people. And so, there's a huge fan base for Notre Dame. This is going to be a team. If this game is close, if this game is competitive for 4 quarters, this game is going to do monster TV ratings.
Yeah, Notre Dame is also the number 2 team for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Like even me growing up, even before the NBC deal, like Notre Dame was on as much as possible. So you grew up knowing them, just like you grew up knowing the Cubs from WGN and things like that. But I grew up watching Ricky Waters and Tony Rice and Lee Becton and Rodney Culver and all of those guys. Rocket Ishmael was the guy. So all of those guys, Mike Stonebreaker, Frank Stam, like I can go on and on with Notre Dame. I used to have the game where Rocket returned 2 punts against Michigan for the win. It was at 89, maybe 88, 89. I had that on VHS. I'm telling you, they were my number 2 team.
Mm-hmm. Billy Tuesday, and I think we're just going to kind of constantly be doing this. And I should have thought together, put a graphic together with here's the timetable for today. The Buckeyes are landing in Atlanta. The ETA on their arrival is 7:15. They will probably get here earlier than that. We kind of did some back of the envelope math earlier and are guessing they're going to get here a little earlier, but we'll see. But we're going to be on here regardless. until they get here. So we'll have, and then lots of questions about where Kevin is right now. Kevin is at the airport right now.
Is that right?
Yes. We should have pulled this up on Flight Tracker. I bet we can figure out a Flight Tracker, Ohio State to.
I only recently, in like the last year, unsubscribed from Flight Tracker after subscribing to Flight Tracker, trying to follow Urban Meyer when he was flying around to Columbus back in 2011.
That is really fantastic. Okay, well, we gotta have traffic questions. Odysseus wants to know which traffic has been worse: Rose Bowl traffic, Cotton Bowl traffic, or national championship game traffic. So those are all different challenges. Cotton Bowl traffic wasn't bad because there was so much snow and ice that most people stayed home. So and we got to the game very early. The traffic has not been terrible anywhere. I rode the metro a lot in LA, so I didn't really sit in traffic there. National championship game, I mean, it was Atlanta on a Friday. We got in at like 3:30, so it's real early, but traffic was already starting to get bad. They're all bad. Rose Bowl traffic in LA is always terrible, but we're there the week between Christmas and New Year, so it's not quite as bad. Cotton Bowl, because the weather wasn't quite as bad, and then national championship game. This is going to be a weekend mostly while we're here, so it's all okay. And I said someone in there earlier saying, if you think Atlanta traffic's bad, you should see New York. Like I grew up out there. Believe me, no one is more familiar than I. Yes, I have sat in bad traffic lots of places. Don't care for it anywhere.
You don't think they're flying Southwest, do you?
I don't think so. No, if they are, they're en route. Here's Mozart's Ghost says the only other state that is rooting for us is West Virginia. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think Notre Dame has enough fans in other places, and Notre Dame hasn't won in a while, and Notre Dame is, so, as Tony said, sort of everyone's second team. I think there are going to be a lot of people rooting for Notre Dame in this game. That would not be a big surprise. Let's go through a couple kick returns, not punt returns, on the Rocket Ishmael 2 kick returns against Michigan. Warpod wants us to do bold predictions. We're going to do that at some point over the weekend. We have not gotten our stuff together for that.
What is our Thursday is Saturday. That's tomorrow. It'll probably be Sunday at some point. I don't know if we'll do them live or not. Sometimes when we do them live, it's hard to fact check this guy. So
yes, we are planning to do a bunch of live stuff. I will probably put out a tweet later tonight. Once we're done with this, I will try and put out a tweet with, like, here's all the stuff we're doing. Here's all what we have planned, just to sort of lay this out for you, just sort of for the weekend on the whole. Saturday morning, we have media day. So we're going to get a chance to talk to Ohio State first, starting at about 9 o'clock. And then we'll get a chance to talk to Notre Dame after that. I think that's about 10:30. I think it's kind of like 9 to 11:30, something like that. And so we'll do that on Saturday morning. And then after that, we have access to see both teams practice on Saturday afternoon. We'll have reports from both practices. Saturday night, we're going to the Ohio State Alumni Association party that is in Atlanta. That is a ticketed event. So if you have tickets, look for us there. If you don't have tickets, I know that sold out almost immediately, so you may be out of luck. Gate C55, that doesn't seem right. I don't think so. I don't think that's the right flight. And I think this is a pretty common thing from April. I like both teams. I like Ohio State better because I'm from Ohio, but I'm happy Notre Dame made it in there. I think a lot of people. If you live in Ohio, you know a lot of people who are Notre Dame fans. And if you are a Notre Dame fan anywhere around the Midwest, you probably know a lot of people who are Ohio State fans. And, you can share your common hatred of Michigan, and, hopefully that keeps everyone bonded together this week.
Here's how it has worked with like my family, my uncle, who is a Notre Dame fan, when they're doing well. When Ohio State's doing better, he's an Ohio State fan. When I see him, he's like, hey, the Buckeyes are doing good. Happy for the Buckeyes. And I'm like, well, what about them Irish? But I'm sure, you got some happy people in Ohio about Notre Dame right now for sure.
All right, so we're going to run through some questions right now. We have a bunch, and some of these came in like an hour ago, but we want to get to get to some of them eventually. Greg Dunn wants to know, what's the status of the team's health? Any injuries of note coming out of the Cotton Bowl for Ohio State?
As far as we know, things are okay. JT Tuimoloau's ankle is, I wouldn't say 100%, but he's fine. He played in the game. He's going to play in this one. Denzel Burke is expected to be okay after missing most of that game with, I think, undisclosed injury at this point. I don't know.
Upper body
right,
is what Ryan Day
said. So that could be,
a backiotomy.
Right, anything. So, but he is expected to be back as long as everything continues to progress. And so from what I've heard, or I have not heard that he's done anything other than progressed as expected.
And both teams have been dealing to one degree or another with some illnesses going around. That's just kind of been the common thread for the last month of college football playoff. Notre Dame had some flu stuff going through their team. Lathan Ransom, I think, talked about having the flu. I think Austin Searveld was a little under the weather for the Cotton Bowl. So you're probably going to have some of that stuff here and there, but it doesn't sound like that has not been something where you've heard everyone on the team has the flu. Like you heard that about the Oregon defense for the Big Ten championship game, that everyone on the team had the flu, and so you have that. You heard that with Ohio State going into the Michigan game in 2021. Like that's one of those things that just like every once in a while you'll kind of hear that and go, yeah, man, that sucks. That's nothing you can do about that, and guys are going to play anyway. So you may be limited. It doesn't sound like there's huge issues there. On the Notre Dame side, Anthony Knapp, the left tackle, who's played most of the season, he is out. We know that. Rocco Spindler, the right guard, sounds like he should be good to go. Charles Jagasaw, who was initially supposed to be the starting left tackle this year, who then tore his pec in preseason camp, he was supposed to be out for the year. Well, then he showed up on the field in the Orange Bowl when Rocco Spindler went down. Now you're sort of wondering maybe he slides over to left tackle. And if he does, then you have the guy who was the projected start at left tackle, but then he hasn't practiced all season. So how does that look?
Well, yeah, and Notre Dame's situation is a little bit like Ohio State's, where the guys that are starting now are also some of the guys that were planned starters, like Carson Hinsman, who has starting experience. So the guys it's been a pretty deep room. Now they're getting to the seventh and the eighth guy, the ninth guy, where it's like, yeah, they're getting into the guys that weren't supposed to play this year, but they have played, like Jagasaw, as you said. Now I know some people have trotted out his 25 snaps at right guard against Texas and no pass pressures allowed or whatever. That's great. That's not left tackle. And that's where he might be lining up in this one, either him or Tosh Baker. And at this point, I don't know what is better for them. I think the devil they don't know, and Jagasaw might be better, because I don't know that they'd feel great about Tosh Baker. It might be one of these Zen Mahalski versus Donovan Jackson things, but like you're looking, what is the easiest answer? And I don't know that they have an easy answer, because if it's Jagasaw, Charles Jagasaw, who has played now just 25 snaps or whatever this year, and has only been practicing for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, now you're going to say, okay, go get him, champ. Go get JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer. Handle those guys, please, for us, and the backups as well. Like that is a tough ask, but that might be better than asking Tosh Baker to do it.
Yeah, Tosh Baker is another guy who he's a fourth-year starter or fourth-year player on the team, but when he went in the Rose Bowl, when Anthony Knapp went down, he went in and played left tackle for the rest of the Orange Bowl, and he at that point had played one snap since early November, and that was a kneel down against, I think, USC, or I don't remember which team it was, but he had really not played functionally for 2 months and then got thrown in there and had some issues. He gave up one sack where Riley Leonard got blindsided and coughed the ball up. So, there are multiple options there, and it's just a matter of which one does the Notre Dame coaching staff feel is the best of the options. It's kind of similar to the situation Ohio State was in after the Nebraska game, where, okay, you lost Josh Simmons, he goes down. Then Zen Mahalski doesn't look good, and then he gets hurt against Nebraska. And now, okay, what's plan C at left tackle? You don't have necessarily a great option, but like, what's the best of the options you have? Now, Donovan Jackson has turned out to be a fantastic option there. That is about a 95th percentile outcome in terms of what you could be looking at with a left, replacing your left tackle with your left guard, who's never really played left tackle at the college level. To have the result that they have there, that is not the normal expectation. That certainly not my expectation for what that was going to look like. So, we'll see. Charles Jagasaw, as said, was projected as the starter coming into fall camp. So, could he step in and play at that level? Absolutely. Is he guaranteed to? Absolutely not. Right. That's going to be one of the things that I'm watching for very, very early. What kind of pressure does Ohio State get over both tackles? Right. Jagasaw, if he's at the left tackle, but then Emil Wagner at right tackle, who had, gave up a sack, gave up a pressure, got called for a penalty in that Orange Bowl. Both of those tackles are positions I'm going to be watching early, because if they can hold their own, that's one kind of day for Notre Dame. If they can't, if one or both of them can't hold their own, that's a very different kind of night for Notre Dame.
Abdul Carter had some good moments against Emil Wagner, their right tackle. So all of this focus on left tackle. Don't forget about the right tackle. Mm-hmm. It's been the right tackle that has doomed each of Ohio State's opponents in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Boy, there's some great questions here. We're going to get.
We've got time.
Don't worry, we have plenty of time. Let's see. Here's one from Dom. Dom says, huge Notre Dame OSU fan base crossover within the Ohio Valley and within families there. And of course, there was always that one friend or cousin who rooted for Michigan.
Yeah, that's my theory growing up in Ohio, in Northwest Ohio, where there were Michigan fans, is if you're not a Michigan family, then you're just the kid who I just like to be annoying. Like, I just want to be different. I say no and everybody else says yes. I am the turd in the punch bowl, figuratively. That's where you get a lot of the Michigan fans up in Northwest Ohio. They disappeared for a while. Then they came back out for a few years, and probably a high and mighty right now ish. But yeah, I don't know what is, because you're from East Coast elite over here.
You say that with more disgust in your voice next time, sir.
But like, what is the college football fan base hierarchy there? Like, is there one?
It's Notre Dame. It's like Notre Dame, really. And then, like, growing up, we had family friends where the mom went to Michigan and the dad went to Wisconsin. So you knew that, they're a Wisconsin and a Michigan fan. But there's not – Notre Dame is a big chunk of it, because, again, I knew a lot of friends who were Catholic growing up. And the sort of default answer there was Notre Dame. And then back then, the contrarians would root for Miami, of course, because that was like Catholics versus convicts days. But I knew a bunch of Notre Dame fans growing up. But it was, I grew up, we had family in Ohio, so it was like that's how I sort of started following Ohio State. But I didn't follow Ohio State till high school, really. And growing up, it was just kind of like, it was much more pro football than college football out there. I would watch some Penn State games when they were on TV, and you would get Rutgers games on the radio. Whoa. So I remember listening to Doug Graber era Rutgers on the radio, but it's not.
Did you not have a television? Did you not have cable TV?
We did not have cable TV.
Did you have a newspaper?
We did have a newspaper, but it just was not. It's just not as big a cultural thing out there. Now it's probably a little bit more so, because it's much more, it's much easier to follow. You get 50 college football games on your TV. We used to get, the Notre Dame game was on Channel 4 in New York, so that was on every week. And then you'd have some games on CBS or on ABC, and like I liked watching Colorado, like the this was pre-Gary Barnett. This was like the early 90s Bill McCartney era Colorado and Nebraska.
30 years ago,
yeah.
Cordell Stewart against Michigan to Michael Westbrook.
Yep. I remember where I was when that game happened.
I was in the freshman dorms at Ohio State, and there was much running up and down the hall from the students there.
April wants to know, how long has it been for Notre Dame since they won a national championship? That was 1988. Remember that one too? They beat Major Harris and West Virginia. That was a bunch, right? Well, they had a couple. They beat West Virginia, Major Harris. That was closer. There was one where they beat Jake Kelchner and that West Virginia team, like 41-7 in the Sugar Bowl. Was that?
That was later.
That was later. That was like early 90s. 88 was the last national championship.
That's Tony Rice.
Yeah.
And,
Ricky,
Rocky Ishmael. Was it Ricky Waters?
I think
at that
it was Ricky
point?
Waters, I think, at that point.
And all of those
Yeah.
defensive guys, Michael Stonebreaker, and I think Frank Stam. And
Yeah. So it has been a minute, and that is one of the reasons that you're seeing enormous ticket interest for this game, because this is an Ohio State fan base that has not won a national championship in 10 years, and a Notre Dame fan base that hasn't won a national championship in 35 years and 36 years. And these are two big fan bases, and these are two pretty national fan bases. And so this is why tickets are still floating around at $1,500, $2,000. Have you found the plane, Tony?
No, I don't know that they've taken off yet.
Do you think they've turned the transponder off? Is there any reason to panic? Tony, Jordan Kapler says you seem more like a Miller High Life kind of guy, which I believe that was in your Twitter bio at one point.
Yeah, no, I am. I've gone Coors Light, but I will always be a High Life guy. Clear bottles, clear hearts, clear eyes, clear bottles can't lose.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Miller High Life. Now I was a Miller High Life Light guy until they got rid of it, because they're like, look, we're Miller High Life. We don't need this light. Frankly, we don't want that kind of business.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've been led to believe it is a champagne of beers.
It is,
Fact
in
or
fact,
fiction?
No, that is true fact.
So this has been sort of a rolling question. This one for like an hour ago, but are both teams showing up now? So here's the schedule for Notre Dame has arrived already in Atlanta. Earlier, we showed you Ohio State departing from Columbus. Ohio State is going to be arriving here in Atlanta probably in an hour and some change. Will that be an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes? We'll find out together. We're looking for the airplane right now to try and be able to give you a better idea. So for TE13 says, for the media day, are transfer players and midseason enrollee high school players available, or just players on the game day roster? Typically, it has just been players on the game day roster. We will certainly be looking for those other guys, and if we can get a chance to talk to them, great, because we would love to chance to talk to them. One of the dirty little secrets of media days at bowl games is typically we have one person covering the game and doing interviews for the upcoming game. But because there's only so much time between Saturday and the game, you can only write about that for 2 days or do podcasts about that for 2 days. So what we end up doing is one person does that, and two people start talking to all of the young guys who we don't normally get a chance to talk to. So, for example, at the Rose Bowl, I spent a bunch of time talking to Ohio State assistant coaches about the incoming freshmen and like, hey, what did you like about this guy? What stands out about him? Where do you think you might play that guy? And talking to some of the young players who are just sort of starting to take on a bigger role this year. So, like, for example, I spent a bunch of time talking to Bryce West, true freshman corner, and Peyton Pierce, true freshman linebacker. So we're going to probably do some of that as well. If we can get a chance to talk to the early enrollee freshmen, that would be great. We would love to do that. If we get a chance to talk to the some of the
transfers will not be available. I checked with OSU on that.
Yeah, I figured that was probably not going to happen.
So
early enrollee freshmen, I would probably assume not either.
Yeah.
But if they are, great. But there's also plenty of stuff to talk about with this year's team and some big picture stuff.
Yeah, well, and even from coach to coach, because at the Rose Bowl, I think it was, I was, same as Tom, talking to young guys, talking to coaches about the young guys. But I asked Keenan Bailey, tight ends coach, about Max Clare, the tight end coming in from Purdue. And he's like, all due respect, I just want to talk about this game. And then I walk over to Carlos Laughlin. I'm like, hey, can I talk to you about CJ Donaldson? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
we'll talk,
right,
And then, you talk about that. It just depends on, what some coaches, I guess, would view it kind of like disrespectful to his current players to talk about future players.
Yeah.
Especially in this kind of moment. They definitely want to talk about them.
Yeah.
It's just like, like he was saying, like after, ask me after and I'll talk to you forever, whoever you want to talk about. But right now,
and that's kind of a little bit of a disconnect in terms of we're not writing about those guys right now. Right. We're asking you questions right now for stories that are going to run on February 17th when there's nothing else to write about.
Correct.
Like that's where that's coming from. But that's as a position coach for the Ohio State football team, that is not what you're thinking about at all. You're like, why are you asking me about this right now? So
Leave
Jordan,
me alone, all right? I think that's Ryan Leaf.
Jordan says, if OSU has a sizable lead in the fourth quarter, they should let Devin Brown get a snap or two. That dude is as Buckeye as they come and deserves a moment on the big stage.
Yeah, I think that would happen you'd probably need a 17-point lead or a 14-point kneel down, like something like that. I think would be okay. But yeah, this is a guy that, look, I'm leaving, but not before we get this job done. And so, that's not the decision that everybody on this team made. They all had to make their own individual decisions. And for a quarterback, there are only so many spots. And so for the backup quarterback to stick around when others didn't, Penn State didn't have their backup quarterback stick around, and James Franklin and both Pabula were both felt like their hands were tied, and Bo had to go do what he had to do, and James Franklin was, I'm sure he hated it, but he understood it. So here you've got Devin Brown who's like, I'm going to stick it out for as long as we got. I'll worry about me later, and he's competed for the job 2 years in a row, and now it's time for him to go, I guess, and branch out and win a job somewhere else, but not before this job is done with a lot of these guys that he's fought very, very hard with.
Yeah, for sure. And there are a lot of guys who are in the portal but are still here. I mean, a lot of guys. Kojo Antwi, for example, you saw him, and he has really not played a whole heck of a lot. You see him on special teams, still here. There are Mitchell Melton, who's in the portal right now, still here, still contributing, still very much engaged in this. And I think that, the portal thing is as much of it's just business, it's nothing personal, as anything you could possibly imagine, where I want to stay here this year, but the realities of the college football calendar is I have to say I'm doing this right now because I need to have a place to land next year, but I want to finish this thing right now. You're seeing there's an awful lot of guys who've stayed, and the guys who have left are really more the exception than the rule. There was someone who I had heard was leaving, who then I saw at the Cotton Bowl. I was like, well, nope, apparently not. So that's just kind of how the realities of college football now, and it's not how anyone would probably have drawn it up, but this is a season where as many things as there are to feel annoyed about with college football right now, and as many things as you can look at with, the people in charge have not done a tremendous job over the last decades. You have to feel pretty good about college football right now in Columbus, Ohio. And frankly, this has been such a good thing for the sport on the whole, where the regular season, how many more fan bases were engaged during the regular season, because Indiana football was an amazing story. Indiana football's been done for a year or for a month. That was an amazing story this year. SMU fans, how engaged were SMU fans all the way through the season? Even teams that missed out, like Ole Miss fans, South Carolina fans, they were so engaged all through the season. And then, some of the first round games are blowouts, and some of the second round games are blowouts. Not all of them, but
that's not new.
That's not new. And both of the semifinals were absolute classics. And we'll see what this national championship game is. If this national championship game is a double overtime classic, awesome. That'll be a fantastic way to wrap up the season. If this national championship game is a 21 point margin of victory, that's happened a bunch of years in the past too. That doesn't take away from all the incredible stuff that's happened over the last month.
Ohio State's last national championship win was a 22-point win over Oregon. That was 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I also go back to the idea that this expanded playoff was going to diminish the regular season. Does the regular season feel diminished for anybody else? The losses still seem to hurt. The loss to Oregon devastated the Ohio State team. The loss to Michigan devastated the entire, Midwestern portion of the United States of America. So it feels like the regular season still had its impact. Now, I do wonder, is it lessened next year after you go through the pain of this year? And it's like, well, we still played in this game. Like, we still made it through that. But also, in real time, the losses still hurt incredibly, whether you're the team, the fan base. Like, it's still real to them, damn it.
Yeah.
That's a wrestling meme.
Yes, I got it. Okay. Yes. Odysseus says, how does Tom feel about being in Braves country? I mean, not great, but could be worse. It could be a time when the Mets had not already, had not basically killed the Braves season by with a home run from Francisco Lindor on the last day of the season in the to force Atlanta to burn their pitchers in the final game of the season, and then basically go into the first round of the playoffs where they torched bullpen. So, there have been worse times to be here. I had a business trip to Philadelphia during the 2009, 2008, whatever it was, World Series year. They beat the Tampa Bay Rays, and I get out of the cab in downtown Philly, and everyone's in Phillies jerseys, and I'm like, this is hell. This is what hell is, although it's not quite as hot as I thought it would be. So this is not nearly as bad as it could have been. Mike says Tom played with hoop and stick as a kid. I was on the varsity penny farthing team, I will have you know. We have a Odysseus says, Tom strikes me as a skip-it kid. I know what you mean. I did not have a skip-it when I was a kid. It was basically, if you don't know what he's talking about, it was basically like a ball and chain kind of thing, except it was around one of your ankles, and then you jumped and swung it around, and you had to it went around in circles around your leg, and you had to jump over it. I did not have one, but I know what you mean. So I am old enough to know what you mean. How is that? Lots of folks. Here's another guy we should be talking about here. Jeremiah Love. Mika Hinna says Jeremiah Love still injured too. Very good. We've seen him be explosive at times in the college football playoff. He has definitely been banged up. He hasn't looked as healthy as he did at the beginning of the season. He's also had a 98-yard run against Indiana, and the single most impressive 2-yard run I've ever seen in the history of college football against Penn State.
It was incredible, and it's a little microcosm of what he is. Like, he will fight and fight and fight, and he showed that in that one. He's a guy who will also hurdle. I know he said he's going to try to limit his hurdling prior to this game. You do everything you can in this game, whether it's hurdle, backflips, somersaults, whatever you got, the worm. Although just watch your knees and watch your elbows, because you're probably going to be down on the ground there. But anything you got, Mika there with Jabron Payne from running back from Ohio. He was one that I know a lot of schools looked at. Have not seen him, and they play 3 running backs,
right?
And Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, and Aeneas Williams, which is easy to remember as the third string running back. But they will also throw to him. They'll throw to all 3 of those guys. But again, I still feel pretty good about Ohio State stopping that running game. All due respect to all 3 of those guys, you have to really also focus on Riley Leonard as the difference maker in that running room, as the quarterback who, whether it's scrambling, designed runs for one, just the QB powers are tough to stop. The read options are tough to stop. The scrambling is tough to stop. So keep him in the pocket and make him beat you with his arm.
Yep, for sure. TK says the Mets are already mathematically eliminated from the 2025
Tom, I'm
playoffs.
sorry to hear about that.
Sir or madam, you apparently have not heard about the gospel of Juan Soto.
He's going to get injured, right? By May, his shoulder is going to be torn out of its, the rotator cuff has completely, it's gone. We don't even know how that happens. How do you even play without a rotator cuff?
If you speak that into existence, so help me. We talked about this earlier from Todd. Injury updates on JT Tuimoloau and Denzel Burke. The short answer is both are expected to play. Both are expected to be fine. Burke was an upper body injury. Tuimoloau was a sprained left ankle. Tuimoloau went back into the game against Texas and performed fine. He's then had 9 days of rest and PT and all of that to recover from that. He should be fine. Denzel Burke is expected to play. Both Jim Knowles and Ryan Day said he's expected to play. We are not aware at this time of any significant injuries that are expected to impact things for Ohio State and Notre Dame. We talked about it earlier. A bunch of shuffling on the offensive line. We'll see where all the, where all those chairs are, when the music stops. And, Jeremiah Love has obviously been playing through some injuries. He's still there. Bo Collins, wide receiver, he had a leg injury, I think a calf injury. He's expected to play. How close to 100% will he be? We'll all find out together. This is from when everyone was at the team departure at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Jordan says, odd that no one is cheering for Tony and Tom, the true heroes. Listen, I mean, they were cheering here. They were just off camera. Our friends are all here too. laughing right with us.
Yeah.
They're just off camera.
We had to mute some. It got a little bit loud, so we had to mute it.
Here's one from Jordan. Can you imagine this team with both Marvin Harrison and J.J. Smith? And that's, that goes into the how are you going to defend this Ohio State team? Marvin Harrison last year, Notre Dame took some extraordinary steps to limit him, and then he got hurt. He got rolled up hurt his ankle on that long Travion Henderson touchdown in South Bend last year. That was, you can only do so much. And there have been a lot of, for as great as the Ohio State wide receiver cores have been in recent years, there's been a bunch of what ifs. Boy, what if Jackson Smith-Njigba doesn't hurt his hamstring against Notre Dame in the first game against 2022 and functionally miss the whole season? What if, and then you have Jackson Smith-Njigba and Marvin Harrison on that same team. And, oh, by the way, Emeka Egbuka on that team in 2022 playing side by side. What if Marvin Harrison comes back and plays this year alongside Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka and Carnell Tate and everyone? I mean, boy, that you didn't miss a completely remarkable wide receiver unit by very much. But also, you look at this year's Ohio State wide receiver unit, and Marvin Harrison talked about Carnell Tate as being ahead of where Marvin Harrison was at that point of his career when Carnell Tate was a freshman. Carnell Tate's like the third wide receiver on this team, and so I guess it could always be better, but it's pretty darn good for Ohio State at the wide receiver position right now.
So I'm learning a whole bunch about planes. So there is a flight. Do you think they fly NetJets?
Well, it could be, yes.
There's one waiting.
Well,
but basically, once they take off, it's an hour 10, hour 20.
Yeah, well, and I don't know whether they would be qualified or categorized as a NetJets. They got on a United plane earlier.
There's also
for one of the earlier bowl games.
There's also a Delta flight leaving.
Gate C56 is probably, that's like a regular flight, probably. So Robert says, I can only compare this anticipation to 8-year-old me in mid-December. For sure. I mean, Monday night it's going to feel like a long way away. We are going to do our very best to get you there. We have a lot of stuff planned. I put together a whole spreadsheet of, okay, here's how we're going to space out all of our time down in Atlanta, because we have a lot of stuff to do and not a lot of time to do it. But our plan is tomorrow morning at Media Days, we'll have probably some live coverage for you before it starts, and then try and get you some live interviews with players and coaches and that kind of stuff during the Media Days session, and then try and get you a little more perhaps between the interview sessions, and then more interviews with Notre Dame players and coaches. We'll have Ross Fulton is going to be available for, hopefully, we hope, another live episode of the Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning podcast with him. Going to be a lot to talk about there as we preview that game from X's nose perspective. And then Sunday, we have the head coaches press conference. That's coming up at 9 a.m. on Sunday. We'll be there for that. We'll try and have a little bit of a live for you before that, and then after that as well. And then we'll probably have some kind of a live something Sunday afternoon. We're trying to figure out when we can try and get over to the Ohio State marching band practice and that kind of stuff. And then Monday, we have extended live pregame plan for you. We have extended live postgame plan for you. So we are going to do everything we can to get you through the next 3.5 or so days.
I did find the plane.
Okay.
Well, I assume it's the plane. It was recently in Fort Worth.
Okay.
But yes, so they will be taking off in about 3 minutes.
Okay. Scheduled
flight time of they'll land at 7:09, and so what's that? An hour and 12 minutes thereabouts. So right on time, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
With
okay.
what
So
we played, like
7:15, 7:20, or something like that. Okay. So there you go. So landing at 7:09 and arriving at the gate at 7:19. So there you go. All right. So there you go. We can you can plan your lives now.
But don't go anywhere.
Yeah, well, no. Plan your lives in terms of once that's done, we will at some point wrap this up. Not yet. We got plenty more to talk about.
I heard there's a carving station over there at dinner, so we will eventually wrap it up.
I saw if you see me looking over there, I'm looking at the carving station over there. Yes.
A whole bucket of wings also passed us
yes.
as well.
Believe it or not, I also noticed that. Yes.
Is that right?
Jordan says, I don't know if this helps with your post-game planning, but my suggestion is have Kevin stand outside in the cold for reasons to be determined later. Listen, way ahead of you.
I mean, don't.
Why do you think we got him out at the airport right now?
Yeah, I don't need any reasons anyway, so don't even worry about coming up with something.
Yeah. Wendy wants to know, did Jack Sawyer get his touchdown football from Cody Simon, who scooped it up? I saw a photo of Jerry Emig holding the football on the field afterwards. So, yes, I'm going to guess that Jack Sawyer did, in fact, get his football after.
Yeah, and I know at one point Jack Sawyer had to, pick up a trophy, so he gave the football to Jerry, basically.
Okay.
I can't hold the winning football and the trophy.
Ball
and
security.
Yes.
Ball security.
Please,
important.
here.
Yes.
Sports information director / football security.
So this goes back to when Ohio State was leaving, when we were live at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Why do they fly out of the Columbus airport instead of the Ohio State airport? Ohio State does have its own airport that's kind of north of Bethel Road, if you know Columbus, up kind of the Linworth area. And the answer is the size of the plane that they fly on, they need a much longer runway. The Columbus airport, or the Ohio State airport, is basically designed for prop planes, people learning how to fly. That's much more like Cessnas than 747s. So that is a not nearly big enough to fly a big plane out of. Here's one from No Longer the Man. What is the biggest key to victory for both teams?
If I say the biggest key to victory for Notre Dame is help from Ohio State, is that, I don't want to be dismissive, but put forward the way that Notre Dame wins this without getting field position given to them by Ohio State or some turnovers. And I don't know that it needs to be more than 2 turnovers might be enough. But the biggest key to victory for Notre Dame is getting short fields, short scoring drives, thanks to turnovers, where that also eliminates Ohio State scoring on that drive. I think that is the biggest key, because what else is there? Like Riley Leonard having his best game ever as a passer in the most difficult defense he's ever faced. Is that a realistic plan of attack? Can you expect Notre Dame to just run the ball at will or run it enough to win this game? I think they need help from Ohio State. To me, that is the best. That is their best path for victory. Now, they can also just play a hell of a game defensively and limit Ohio State, and Ohio State can lose the field position battle. And so Notre Dame just incrementally just stays in it, and then in the fourth quarter, anything can happen. So maybe the key is get it to the fourth quarter.
For Notre Dame, the longer it's a close game, the better it is for Notre Dame. If you're the favorite, you want to put the game away early. If you're the underdog, you want to keep the game close and give yourself a chance to have that one play in the fourth quarter. And we've seen Ohio State have that one play in a positive way with the Jack Sawyer strip and scoop and score against Texas in the Cotton Bowl. We have seen that one play not go that way, where we missed the field goal against Georgia at the end of the game, or any of about 15 plays against Clemson in the 2019 Fiesta Bowl. Ohio State fans have been on both sides of that, and they know what that's like. That goes back to Ryan Day's mantra about leave no doubt. You want to put it away. Don't put yourself within the margin of error at the end of the game. For Notre Dame, if Ohio State can hit a couple big plays early, or can just if Ohio State has 14 points in the first quarter, and the defense is playing well, that puts the Ohio State at about a 95% win probability in my mind. If Ohio State's up early and can just sort of keep the pedal down, that's the path to victory that involves the least elevated blood pressure cases in the city of Columbus, Ohio. If Notre Dame keeps it close, if Notre Dame can just keep it low scoring, if Notre Dame can force a couple turnovers, if Notre Dame can make a big play on special teams, this is all stuff that we've seen Notre Dame do. This is all stuff that Notre Dame can do. It's stuff that Notre Dame has done in the last couple of weeks. We saw them do it against Georgia, where it was just, okay, keep it close. It's 3-3 going into halftime, and they kick a field goal, and then it's 6-3. And then Georgia does the one stupid thing that they've done twice in the college football playoff and think we're going to heave this downfield right before halftime, and our left tackle's not very good, and our quarterback's going to get blindsided, and oh look, it happened again, and then Notre Dame gets a 13-yard touchdown on one play, 13-yard touchdown drive, and then they run back the opening kickoff at the start of the third quarter, 17 points in the span of a minute. That's the ball game. That was it.
Right.
Georgia only scored 10 points all game. That 1 minute span was the difference in the game. So you've seen Notre Dame do this. If Ohio State can just avoid doing the stupid thing that lets Notre Dame get that, if Ohio State can avoid the big special teams mistake where you blow a kickoff coverage, and I'm talking about this from the Ohio State perspective. I'm not trying to take things away from Notre Dame. Like, yes, Notre Dame obviously had a very direct role in all of these things. This is not to take things away from Notre Dame. But for Ohio State, it's just don't have the extraordinarily bad thing happen. That's really the key to victory for Ohio State. And for Notre Dame, it's keep it close and then have the extraordinarily good thing happen for Notre Dame and the extraordinarily bad thing happen for Ohio State.
Right. It's a cornerback slipping like against Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Justin Grant, talking about the Ohio State team, plane just took off. He mentions the flight number. Tom.
Yes.
We have never told the people.
We have not.
About the flight number that we had for the Rose Bowl. It was the Rose Bowl, right?
I think it was the Rose Bowl, yes.
Flight number for fans of the Bold Prediction Show and all of the chicanery that goes on there. Flight number was 1734. Mm-hmm. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good one.
Tom, we also, I have been mailing out bags of confetti to members of BuckeyeHuddle.com. Did that after the Rose Bowl. Did that after the Cotton Bowl. If Ohio State wins on Monday, we will probably do that again for folks. So if you want to get a part of that, I actually have some leftover Cotton Bowl confetti. If you want to get some of that, if you want to get national championship confetti, if Ohio State wins on Monday, sign up at BuckeyeHuddle.com. First month, just $4.99. We'll stick an envelope. There's instructions on the board on how to get that sent to you. So if you have to be a member, but if you are a member, sign up there. It's a great way to support what we do, but also get some cool benefits as well. So we, as I was mailing out the confetti, there was one of our board members whose address was 1734 whatever street, and I was like, man, this is someone who is really in on the bit.
Although I do remember this time, 2 years ago, it was the opening game, whatever it was, and I went to McDonald's for breakfast, and they give you a code, right? And my code was AB46. Which
that's
A to B, 4 to 6,
4 to 6
B.
seconds, A to B. Yeah.
That's the Urban Meyer Ryan Day thing. It's like, all right, I am now ready for football season. Once I get this sausage McMuffin and the sausage burrito, once I get this into my body, I will be ready.
Fuel up, and then let's bring the Notre Dame folks in here. Eat all that greasy McDonald's, and then leave a greasy handprint on that "Play Like a Champion Today" sign as you go by, slapping it. It's definitely fuel up to play 60, as they say. This is one where I don't know if this is Citizen X 3639 says WBNS 10 did a 20-minute interview with Nina Day. Highly recommend. Is that the new one, or is this?
I don't know.
Is that a new one? Because I know that Nicole did an interview with Nina Day.
That was also good.
That was really good. I don't know if that's the same one that they're talking about here, but that was really, really good. And if you don't know the story of Ryan and Nina Day, they have known each other since they were little kids. They were on the same T-ball team. Like, there's a picture of these two, Ohio State's head coach and his wife together on a T-ball team when they're 6 years old in Manchester, New Hampshire. So they have known each other a long time. They have a really, really cool story. They have kids who have gone from little kids to RJ Day. Ryan's son is the starting quarterback for DeSales High School in Columbus and has offers from Marshall and a couple other FBS programs. So, those are kids who have kind of grown up in the Columbus spotlight. And, it has been Ryan Day for as many games as he won. He has not won all of his games, and that can make for a little bit of an up and down. But, boy, seeing that family on the field after the Cotton Bowl, that is as happy as I have seen them. And RJ Day was up on the podium behind Will Howard and who was it? Will Howard and Jack Sawyer, and they ended the Cotton Bowl, like having the time of his life. And it's like, you know what? Good for you guys, because I'm sure this has not been the most fun, the easiest thing, but they have. I think they have enjoyed the last month more than just about any other time they have been a part of the Ohio State football family.
And it's interesting because RJ has been around since 2017 when Ryan Day got here, And there were times where, like RJ Day, I first remember seeing him around. He'd be in the post game, he'd be in interviews standing next to JT Barrett. And he was like Ryan Day would talk about, he's the GM of the Buckeyes. And to see that those press conferences to now being up on the stage, he's been through a lot. His sisters have been through a lot. And they're very happy. The people were happy for them, like all of the other coaches and players, and saw a whole bunch of hugs. And if Ohio State can get this one, there will be even more. And we'll be down on the field, so make sure to check it out. YouTube.com/Buckeye Huddle for whatever that post game looks like.
Yeah. All right. So we got. I'm just looking through all these different. Boy, you guys are throwing some stuff in there. Lots of stuff for us to go through. We appreciate it. Here's from Market X. It says both of these teams are the victims of the biggest upsets of the season, but persevered. You can say that makes the regular season meaningless, or it gives these guys an opportunity for redemption. I certainly think looking at this season, and it is just one season, but looking at this season, it sure makes you question all the previous seasons, because if you look at if this was a 2-team format for the college football playoff, the 2 teams that would have been in would have been Oregon and Georgia. How did things go for Oregon and Georgia? Well, if it was a BCS, we would have just seen, Oregon and Georgia, and these are the 2 teams, and they're in, and so these are the best 2 teams in the country, and they're playing for the national championship. The truth is maybe a little more complicated than that.
Well, when everything is just assumed, it's amazing how much success you do get to have. When it's just, we know, Tony,
undefeated in hypothetical matchups.
We know. So let's just go ahead and get these guys in here and let them figure it out. Say what you want. Like Nick Saban, the greatest of all time, has had some incredibly fortunate circumstances in his time at Alabama for even stuff like Ohio State not self-imposing a bowl ban in 2011 gets him a national championship in 2012 against Notre Dame.
If Ohio State self-imposes a bowl ban in 2011, one of the teams playing in this national championship game has a national championship in 2012 because they would have played in the national championship game in 2012. And, from Ohio State's perspective, that was not a great Ohio State team. But you saw what happened to Notre Dame against Alabama, and I think Ohio State team that went 12-0 in 2012 probably looks at that and goes, we could have probably given them a pretty good game. And Notre Dame, I'm sure, looks at Ohio State and goes, they're not as good as Alabama. So, and Alabama would have gotten left out that year. So yeah, there's definitely some.
Alabama has had late losses and has been able to overcome that and gotten the benefit of the doubt. Ohio State, not so much of the benefit of the doubt in some of those late losses in years past.
Yep. So here's very important from Jordan Kapler. Which fast food chain has the best fries? And we did. We stopped at Cookout on the way down here, as we said earlier. I know. I love In-N-Out when we're out on the West Coast. They do not have the best fries. That is definitely where they fall short. Whataburger fries are good
with the spicy ketchup.
With the spicy ketchup. Wendy's fries, when properly made, are probably my favorites of the big 3 chains. Arby's curly fries, very good. You get either the horsey sauce or the Arby's sauce with those. That's quite good.
Can I throw
anything I'm forgetting?
You're forgetting Rallies for one. Rallies, because they're just different. My wife wanted some KFC mac and cheese the other day, so then I got some of their fries. Fantastic, because it's all of the
like the wedge.
No, fries. Fries.
Okay.
It's the spices, all of the 12 herbs and spices that they throw on there with some of the breading. So fantastic. And hey, the Cajun fries from Cookout today were on point as well. So now I did have some soggy fries from Cane's the other day, but that's the problem with drive-through Cane's and getting it home.
Yeah.
They get a little soggy with those crinkle fries.
Yeah. Sorry, got to clean up the chat a little bit for you.
Jordan, just keep it down.
You don't want to get put on Kevin Island with you-know-who. Here's one from Jobs. I need a couple more vowels in there. It reminds me of former Padres catcher from the early 1980s, Doug Gwodes, whose his last name was something like GWOSDZ, and his nickname was iChart. So that's
fantastic.
Yes. His question is not Doug Gwodes. This other guy. What are your thoughts on the Lou Holtz comments on Ryan Day? And the Lou Holtz comments on Ryan Day were basically, if Notre Dame loses the national championship game, it's just because the Irish don't want Ryan Day to get fired. And so if you are on the internet, you have to recognize when you are being trolled, and you have to recognize when people are saying stuff for attention. And I will also point you to Zaire Malik in that same realm this week, where there are two possible explanations for those comments. One is that he picked up a severe amount of CTE while riding the Pine at Florida. And two is he's trolling you for attention. And you have to kind of recognize that. There are lots of people on ESPN who have made millions and millions of dollars by doing this. If you recognize this, you will waste a lot less time in your life.
And the thing is, like, Lou Holtz is so over the top, ESPN's even like,
yeah.
They let him go years ago.
Yeah. It's you have to kind of recognize, like, sometimes people are just saying stuff for attention, and that's fine. Like, whatever, be entertaining, get your time in the news cycle, and then move on. And you just have to kind of treat it with exactly the seriousness it deserves, which is little to none. Irish Gordian Knot says Chip Kelly versus Al Golden is going to be one for the ages. This is definitely going to be a really, really interesting schematic matchup. The Irish are very aggressive. The Irish are more aggressive than really anyone Ohio State has seen, I think, in terms of blitzing. There was the play where Georgia, Trevor Etienne, the younger brother. I every time I do this, I question myself.
Etienne the younger.
Yeah. Yes. Etienne the lesser had the ball, and they were at the, I don't know, they were inside the 20, and Al Golden calls like a 6 or 7 man blitz, and it really almost an all out blitz. And I think it was Schuler, number 8, who got his helmet on the ball and popped it out, and they forced a turnover. They are going to be very aggressive, and you saw Penn State see that coming and hit them for a real big screen, like the second play of the game in the Orange Bowl. And you've seen that work really, really well. This feels like a game where they're probably, I think Notre Dame is going to have to try to force big plays on defense, try to force turnovers, try and get Ohio State way behind the sticks so you get them off the field. That tells me they're going to have to be aggressive. And then there's a little bit of, do you guess right in terms of when they're being aggressive? Because if you call a screen when Notre Dame is bringing a huge blitz, you could hit them for a huge gain. If you call a screen in a play where they're sitting back, then it doesn't go anywhere, and then they call a huge blitz on the next play, and then you're really in trouble. So there's going to be a lot of kind of rock, paper, scissors to this game.
For sure. And there's also, when you've got Travion Henderson, who's a fantastic pass protector. Do you keep him in to pick up those blitzes? Has he been sent out, and now there's an empty backfield where he's an outlet, and he can, as we know, he can do some stuff with the football. I think he'll be targeted in this one. I think this is, for so many guys, this is their last game. So these coordinators are going to be, you're not saving anything. You might not get to everything, but you're not saving anything for this. You've got whatever you think is going to give you the best chance. That's what you've been working on. And if you're going to spend time on it, you're going to want to call it. It's just sometimes circumstances and situations don't allow it. But yeah, Chip Kelly versus Al Golden. Ryan Day wants to stay aggressive because he knows Notre Dame's going to be aggressive.
Yep.
Just don't turn it over. There you go, Will Howard.
Yeah, right. Well, and I think if turnovers are even in this game, Ohio State wins.
Right.
If big plays are even in this game, plays over 40 yards, Ohio State probably wins. If special teams plays over 40 yards or block kicks are even in this game, Ohio State probably wins. But you've seen Notre Dame do all of those things and make those big plays and prevent those big plays over the last few weeks. So that's sort of the path for Notre Dame to win. Hummus Hero says people are just jealous of Brian Kelly's Elaine Benesesque dancing ability.
I like that word.
I do. I like Benesesque, yes. Those recruiting videos are, every single time you see them, they're like, it's a pretty big organization. Think about how many people had to go, this is a good idea, before Brian Kelly spinning around on a turntable with strobe lights flashing, holding up an L. Like, L stands for something other than Louisiana in the sport of football. And when you lose games, guess what? You're gonna guess where you're gonna get memed everywhere.
Also, some of those recruits that you're doing that with are playing at other schools and choosing other schools, and it doesn't go well.
No. Jordan Kennard says, Tom and Tony, does this feel like a game where you sort of throw at the stat sheet, or do you sense that one team jumps out on the other and runs away with it?
I'm not in the field that Ohio State's just going to jump out and run away with it. I think this is a gradual mauling of sorts. But if it does start out 14-0, then I think, again, don't let off the gas if you're Ohio State, because Notre Dame just continues to claw back. But I think this is one where Ohio State defensively doesn't give them much up. So if they just score once a quarter, it's going to look lopsided by the end of the game.
Yeah. I struggle to see Notre Dame scoring more than 13, 14, 17 points. So if Ohio State can just be consistent and you score a touchdown a quarter and you don't turn the ball over and you don't give up a big play on special teams, you're probably winning the game 28-17, something like that.
And it may not look like a dominating effort, but again, defensively, I think they're going to be in control of this game.
Yep. Super chat from Ian Bates says, Under Armour while covering Notre Dame. Yes, this is. I had someone. I can't catch a break. I got this in Toronto on vacation. It's not
pitiful.
Tom. I can't. Yeah. I only own so much clothing, and I made a point to go, okay, well, I'm not wearing any navy blue this week. I own a lot of navy blue, which I get crap for all the time. I also the color I wear probably the second most is green. I'm like, well, I'm not going to bring that either. So, all right, I have a lot of gray and black. I think I have something that's like kind of a tan. This is just what I wore in the car today because I'm like, well, I'm just going to wear a sweatshirt and it'll be fine. And no one will find the University of Toronto objectionable.
Now you got a new sweatshirt.
And now I do have a new sweatshirt. Yes. So yes. No offense. That's where that's from. McChicken says we need a Corso Lou Holtz boxing match. That no.
Let them live. Let them live.
And Irish Gordy not kind of confirming what we were saying earlier. Malik Zaire, 1,000% trolling. You said it several times. He's not just singling it out. He said it for every playoff game, but OSU fans that have taken it the most personally. It's just gotten crazy. Yeah, I mean,
he's also an Ohio guy.
Here's that attention you ordered. Give.
Yeah. He's an Ohio guy that was involved in Ohio State recruiting, and so there's just more memory of him. I think for Ohio State fans, so they'll get after it.
Yeah. Judy says, I struggle with you two never wearing OSU Buckeye apparel. That you don't. If you're covering the team as media, you don't wear Ohio State stuff like that. You don't see anyone, I don't think, on the beat who's wearing Ohio State stuff, and you don't see Notre Dame people wearing Notre Dame stuff. That's not. It's kind of like professional,
right?
That's like the professional sort of code. Mike Ferguson says, I own no red clothes. That's not true. I think I do have a red pullover thing that I have here. So you'll probably see me in red at some point this week. Look at me. And
turning over a new leaf.
And then people will complain that I am wearing a biased
Homer.
I'm wearing a biased sweatshirt, as always. Odysseus says, Coca-Cola challenge. Who can down the most, Tom, Tony, or Kevin? I will. That's me tapping. No, thank you. I'm fine with drinking soda, but I'm not a Coca-Cola person. Diet Coke is fine.
I can't. Now I couldn't even drink a full Pepsi. I bet. Mm-hmm. So I would bow out on that. one.
Yeah. So sounds like Kevin.
Answer's Kevin.
Sounds like Kevin. What's that? Kevin can drink 5 2-liters in an hour
without belching.
Wow, man, I don't know how many dollars in super chats do you think Kevin would need to drink 5 2-liters in an hour?
6 to 7.
Yeah.
Dave Biddle, Buckeyes.com.
Buckeye Huddle in the house. What's up?
Please, sir.
Is hospitality open already?
If you drive down here, you know that you're in for it. Listen,
Get ready for the
These are my guys, man. These guys are the real deal. Don't let Patrick Murphy tell you otherwise.
Odysseus wants to know any plans to play out the CFP video game in the hotel and who wins, Kevin, Tom, or Tony. So I will tell you, I have yet to play the CFP video game, so probably not me.
Oh no, I would, because Kevin has it. He still hasn't played it. So
Okay.
But I did throw a simulation of Ohio State Notre Dame on our YouTube page, so you can find that at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle after this one.
And another injury update that we forgot to mention earlier. Tyler wants to know about Will Howard's hand. The fact that we have forgotten to mention this is probably a good indication that does not seem like that is a big concern. And that was something that it was not on his throwing hand. It was on his back of his left hand. It was just kind of like a big.
It was a broken blood vessel, because he talked about it.
Okay.
Said it didn't hurt at all. It is the second time it's happened this year, but like nobody noticed it the first time. So it's never happened before, but it has now happened twice. And again, it didn't bother him, didn't hurt him, and so you just penknife, drain it, put a leech on it, boom.
Top of the OSU Medical School, #1 in leeches.
Just don't leave a sponge in your head coach.
Another Lou Holtz boxing match question. Odysseus wants to know, would you guys rather get into a boxing match with a leprechaun mascot or spend an hour in the front of Lou Holtz during a pep talk catching his
You're
spill?
telling me I get an opportunity to punch a leprechaun? This is one of my life's goals. And it doesn't have to matter. Like, it doesn't have to be this one or that one. Any leprechaun.
Let me just answer this with one of the best memes from 2008 or so. Everybody see a leprechaun, say yeah.
Say yeah. Tom, just an update. 47 minutes remaining on the flight.
Yeah, so that ties in with Dodd Draco's question. How are they in Atlanta already? They are not in Atlanta already. That was Notre Dame's plane landing earlier. So Ohio State not in Atlanta yet. They are 47 minutes away. Lisa wants to know, how are we holding up?
Thank you, Lisa.
Perhaps the most important question. How are we holding up with so much travel in such a short time span?
I'm tired. I'm ready for some rest. But no, I'm doing well. Now that I'm here, again, this was we got up, hit the road at 5:30 in the morning, so now we've been full go for 13 hours now. I'm pretty energized. We're here. The hospitality has a way of doing that to people, as you guys may have noticed. But
give me one example.
But no, it is good. You're covering a national championship, so like every day is going to be a full day. Even when we were covering lesser bowls like the Rose Bowl and the Cotton Bowl, every day is a full bowl, full day, and this is going to be no different. But it has been a lot, like a lot. Like it's been a long month. A lot has gone on. Say hello to the wife and goodbye to the wife. Basically, this entire month.
Yeah, that's it's definitely been a very busy month. It's been you get into a rhythm covering the team normally, where you have 4 games or so during the regular season where you're gone, and a bunch of them are drives, and you're gone for like a day. You spend one night in a hotel, you're back that same day. You get into kind of a rhythm, and we both have families, responsibilities at home. So it has definitely been a little different. Gone for an extended period of time. My wife and daughter had planned a trip for this week, like 8 months ago, and it was kind of like, oh, well, if Ohio State reaches the national championship game, we have another kid who we have to figure out how to take care of. So little stuff like that. And the thing that's been, I think, challenging about this is you can't plan anything, because if Ohio State loses to Tennessee, season's over. You can do whatever you want, and you want to go on a ski trip after Christmas? Sure, you could do that. But you don't know that until the evening of December 21st. And then hey, you got to get on an airplane in a week. And then what are you going to do the first week of January? Well, it depends. You'll find out on the evening of January 1st. So that's been kind of the interesting part of this is the answer on so much stuff the last month has been it depends. But this has been super fun. You get to see teams who don't usually play. Ohio State playing Tennessee for the second time ever. Ohio State playing Texas for the 4th time ever. Ohio State playing Oregon for the second time this season, but in a venue where you've only seen them play Oregon once before. Well, it happened before that, but not when we were around to see it. And then now you've got Ohio State and Notre Dame, who are teams from very close together, who've only played, I think, 8 times in history. I mean, it's just teams that are very, very close together, who have enormous fan bases that live side by side in a lot of cases, who play way less than they probably should. And we just got a chance to see them play a home-and-home 2022 and 2023. Now you get to see them play in the biggest game in series history. That's pretty cool. And it should be an awesome atmosphere. I'm expecting to see a ton of Ohio State fans, a ton of Notre Dame fans. I don't think we've seen a question yet about the crowd mix here, but I think that's going to be an interesting thing. I'm guessing it should be as close to 50-50 as any crowd, because no one had a huge head start in terms of buying tickets, and tickets are so expensive that, it wasn't like you could buy up a ton of stuff at face value. And
this also isn't a regional, Georgia, like Ohio State had to play Texas and Dallas, that sort of thing. It's a race, a fair race to this game, I think, for all fan bases.
Yeah. Super chat from Rose Quartz Lemonade. When you ask Notre Dame pages about what they are most confident and nervous about, they're scared the defensive line will be bullied. They think Riley has grit and moxie. He will will them to a win. I think if he runs too much, it'll be a problem.
Well, running too much is an interesting thing, because he got knocked out of the Penn State game from not running necessarily. I think that was a hit behind the line of scrimmage, if I recall. But again, they all count and they all add up. Now he has to get down, and you're going to do everything you can to win this game. Jim Knowles talked about how Riley Leonard will scrape himself up off the ground and keep going. But if you don't have to do that, be smart about it, get down. But we saw, was it against Penn State, where he went head over heels for a first down? I don't know if it was Penn State or if it was
that was Georgia. That was Georgia. That was the Sugar Bowl,
where he goes up and over. He's going to do what he does. That's just him. And he's not going to change the way he plays. But if you can find the time to get out of bounds or slide and live to fight another day, that might be a good mark. But he's going to give it everything he's got. He's going to. He's the kind of guy that everything he's got is going to be put into this game.
Yeah, and Mozart's Ghost says he worries about Leonard running and drawing targeting calls, and that's certainly a possibility. I think the bigger concern with Riley Leonard is just, boy, if it's 3rd and 2, he sure is efficient at picking up the 2.5 yards. He doesn't pick up. He's not going to run for 80 yards on Ohio State in one shot, but he could very well pick up 8 first downs with his legs, and that might be in some ways more devastating than just one 80-yard run. If you give Ryan Day a choice between he's going to have one 80-yard run and he's going to pick up 8 to 10 first downs with his legs, I bet he takes the 80-yard run, because that's just one. And then if you take away Riley Leonard's running ability on 3rd down, boy, that takes away one of Notre Dame's biggest tools in terms of what they want to do. It's also one of the reasons why, if you can get Notre Dame behind the chains, you can get Notre Dame off schedule, that's really going to change this game quite a bit, because this is not a team. Riley Leonard is not a great passer, and he also, I don't know how much we've talked about this, hurt his shoulder earlier in the season, and so that, and week 2, and has really been kind of banged up all season, and that's sort of limiting him. And he's not a great downfield passer right now, and that if you get them in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12. That's going to be something that puts them in a position where they don't want to be.
I think in the last game, we talked about this on our Penn State rewatch, they were 8 for 8 on 3rd downs of 3 yards or less, but I think 2 of 7 on 6 or more, 3rd and long. So keep them in 3rd and longs, and you should be okay. In terms of drawing targeting calls, once he's running, he's no longer really defenseless. So that kind of eliminates some of that possibility.
And if you see him sliding, you have to pull up. You can't hit him while he's sliding. There was one, I think it was against Indiana, where he had not yet stepped out of bounds and got hit by Carpenter, the defensive lineman for Indiana, and they flagged him, and the TV crew acted like it was the most obvious late hit call in history, and it's like, he's giving himself up. Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't 10 yards out of bounds. He was going out of bounds, and then he got hit real far out of bounds. You have to not give up a 15-yard penalty for no real discernible benefit. Ohio State did some of that against Texas and kept that game probably closer than it needed to be. That's one of those things you got to learn. You got to learn your lesson from that. Now, here's a couple in a row that we're going to do together. Jason Barnett says, do you think they will triple cover Jeremiah Smith? And Cheryl says, is Notre Dame switching up man-to-man and zone for Jeremiah Smith? And Texas played a ton of cover 2 and a ton of zone. And that's what Texas generally does. They play a ton of zone. And Notre Dame, when you play cover 2, you have 2 safeties like on the hashes or a little outside the hashes. When you play cover 1, which is what Notre Dame does a lot, you get a safety in the middle of the field, or cover 3. Cover 2 is what's known as middle open. So you've got your safeties outside. There's no one standing in the middle of the field. You attack that kind of coverage one way. Middle closed is you've either playing cover 1 where you got one guy in the middle, or you've got 3 guys where 2 guys are kind of out further out and 1 guy's in the middle. Notre Dame is not going to have the ability to completely change their entire defensive structure in the span of a week and a half. Yeah, they play some zone, but it's not the basis of what they do. They've spent all spring, all summer, all fall practicing for a defense where they have run 80% man coverage, something like that. You can't just flip a switch and say, and now we're a zone team, because it worked for Texas. That puts you in a position where you've got guys who, this time of year, if you're playing a defense you've been working on since the spring, you're playing a defense where you don't have to think, you can just react. If you're trying to, it's like, okay, now it's exactly the same, test about the Book of Mice and Men, but it's in French. Okay, certainly you can learn French in a week. Like, okay, you can do that. You can learn probably enough French to sort of hack your way through, but boy, do you have to think a lot harder if you're gonna do that. Notre Dame doesn't have the option to just flip a switch and now they're a zone team. So I'm sure they're going to do some of the same stuff that you saw Texas do, where they're dropping. You've got Xavier Watts, for example, over the top, and you drop someone. You drop a linebacker, you drop a defensive end into a zone, something like that, or you drop a guy, spot drop a guy. You can sort of do some of that, but they're not going to be able to do just Control-C, Control-V the Texas game plan.
No, and to use your analogy, like the teacher would be, or whoever is going to, like, I don't think you can pass this test of Mice and Men in English. So I'm going to make you take it in French.
Yeah.
And that's basically what Al Golden would be telling his players. Like, look, you're not good enough to do this in man. Mm-hmm. We need to change because we're not good enough to get this done. And that's not a message you want to tell your team before a game like this. So you're going to go down swinging with dance with what brought you, basically. So I think they'll change some things here and there, but you are who you are. You are what got you here to this point. Don't try to be somebody else that you're not.
Yeah, Rose Quartz Lemonade said Ransom, Downs, Hancock, Iggy, Riley will need to keep his head on a swivel. Don't believe in him as a passer, but they describe him like he's Tebow. And Irish Gordian not providing a little clarity. It hasn't shown up in the season, but Riley Leonard won the Manning Passing Academy's deep passing drill. It's not like he's not capable of throwing the deep stuff. The banged-up offensive line has contributed. That's absolutely true. And I think that shoulder injury, that's why I mentioned the shoulder injury earlier. I think that's probably contributed as well. And also, Notre Dame does not have the world's greatest wide receivers. Notre Dame's wide receivers are somewhere in the enormous chasm between Penn State's wide receivers and Ohio State's wide receivers. They're better than Penn State's wide receivers, certainly. They're probably better than Georgia's wide receivers in that they can at least catch the football. Right. But there's not a true game breaker among those. Jordan Faison is elusive, quick, will pick up 16 yards for you, 20 yards for you. You saw Greathouse against Penn State. If your corner falls down, Greathouse can make a big play. But we spent a couple of games watching Notre Dame in the playoff and him not making enormous plays. The wide receivers aren't quite there. The offensive line isn't quite there, and the shoulders hurt for Leonard. And all of that adds up to if Notre Dame beats Ohio State by throwing the ball deep, I think you just kind of tip your hat. You tip your hat at that point. I don't think that's something where I don't think Notre Dame is coming into this game going, here's a spot where we can really capitalize. Throwing deep on Ohio State when Ohio State has the safeties they have and Notre Dame has the offensive line, quarterback, and running backs that they have.
I was just looking through some past Notre Dame receivers, and the last Notre Dame receiver with over 500 yards receiving was in 2021 Kevin Austin, that name has escaped me. These are also the Michael Mayer years, but Javon McKinley in 2020 with 717 yards receiving. It's been a while. Every year, the last 3 years, it's basically 450 yards for your top receiver, and they may make some plays, but there's nobody that you fear. There's no like Chase Claypool. Maybe some people feared him. Like there's no Michael Floyd. There's no Jeff Samardzija. Like those guys where you're like, we need to be concerned about these guys.
And Jalen Montgomery brings up the tight end Mitchell Evans, 10 fewer catches than last year, almost 100 yards less. Went from averaging 14 yards a catch to under 10. We talked about this a bunch. Terrence Ferguson with Oregon. We talked about this with Michael Helm with Texas. We talked about this with Tyler Warren with Penn State. If your tight end is kind of the first option in the passing game, you're not going to have an explosive passing game. Like you can move the ball some, but that's not going to be that's not going to be a super explosive, a super, huge numbers kind of passing game. And I don't know that Mitchell Evans is the number one passing target for Notre Dame, but he's probably in the top two. And at least in the games that we've watched,
he's their leading receiver.
Yeah,
by a couple. He's got 29 receptions.
Yeah.
Or no, that was last year. I'm sorry, but 39 receptions. So again, he's a leading receiver by a couple. But these are 9 yards a catch.
Right. But Bo Collins, Jaden Greathouse, 12.38 yards per catch, 12.89 yards per catch. That's not. There's not a huge play guy. Have you looked up big plays in terms of passing? That's the thing with Notre Dame is there's not a huge downfield passing attack, and it's not that they don't connect on them; it's they don't really try to connect on them, and that to me is either philosophically this is not what we do, or as a coaching staff we know this is not what we can do or what we would do well. So that I think all of that points to me at Notre Dame is not probably going to be able to be super efficient in downfield passing, and that limits that allows Ohio State to creep those safeties a little closer, play more guys in the box, and makes it harder to run and do the things that Notre Dame likes to do.
Notre Dame 112th in the nation in 30-yard pass completions this season, just 12 on the year, and they're 15 games now. Yeah. In terms of 40-yard completions, they're probably right around there, 117th in the nation. They've got 5 passes of 40 yards or more,
tied with Iowa.
Yes, and
Iowa has one more 40-yard completion, one fewer 20-yard completion. That is not the company you want to be keeping in the passing game.
No, two completions of 50 yards or more, nothing over 60 or anything like that. So a very sparse amount of big plays, big plays from their receivers.
Yeah. That's PB says the best receiver is the lacrosse player. Yes, that's Faison, number 6. You will hear that stat. That is the new Tommy Zibikowski, is also a boxer. Or hey, did you know that AJ Hawk is dating Brady Quinn's sister? That is the new.
Did you
fun fact.
ever hear that Sam Hubbard played dodgeball and lacrosse?
That a fact.
It is a fact.
That's
True
a
fact.
Geiger Lee wants you to share again what you did in an earlier show about which Notre Dame player has the most receiving yards against OSU among the guys.
Among the receivers.
Among the receivers.
Mitchell Evans has the most among the players. Among the receivers, that would be Lorenzo Styles Jr., who had a 54-yard catch against Ohio State way back in 2022. And I think Jaden Thomas and Jordan Faison also have played against Ohio State in the past 2 years and have fewer yards, like 2 for 40 and 1 for 7.
Rose Quartz Lemonade says, oui, bonjour. For my fellow Buckeye fans, Notre Dame plays 57% man, rest is zone. They run zone enough to be competent. I hope zone 6 sets the tempo. I've seen numbers that are lower
80%.
than that. I've seen much lower zone numbers. So, and again, I don't have that in front of me right now, but yeah, it's enough. It's enough that they're not going to be able to completely change their. Your identity is a man defense. They talked this week about the fact that their identity was a man defense. Leonard Moore talked about it this week, and Jeremiah Smith reshared the video of that on Instagram or something like that. So Ohio State is aware of that. So we'll see. I'm sure they're going to have. They're not going to play just straight cover one man every play. They're not going to play. Oh, now we're going to play cover two zone every snap. They're going to mix it up. They're going to try and keep Ohio State off balance. we'll see how effectively they can do it. I will raise my hand and say the first college football playoff game we watched against Indiana, the first thing they talked about was true freshman corner Leonard Moore, and I went, oh no, this is going to be bad. And then 3 games in, they have not played a passing offense as good as Ohio State, but Leonard Moore has been fine. Yeah. Leonard Moore has not been the issue for the Notre Dame defense really at any point.
The only reason he's a freshman is because they tell you he's a freshman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's Defensive Freshman of the Year for the Football Writers Association, so national award. He's not looked like a freshman, but there has been nobody to make these corners look bad, even though Christian Gray he's grabbing, he's IGB levels of physical contact and grabbing and holding. He gets away with it sometimes, but he doesn't get away with it all game long.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Leonard Moore, I want to see more of him. We keep talking about wanting to watch this USC game to see some sort of a passing attack against them, because Indiana, that's just a quick RPO type of thing, and Georgia losing Carson Beck and having no receivers with any semblance of hands, and then Penn State with no wide receivers who actually caught any passes in that game. Like that. How do you tell anything? Like, you can get a kind of an idea, but there's nothing that we've seen that prepares us for this game.
And it's sort of like, I'll make an analogy that Notre Dame fans will understand. You're evaluating Notre Dame's defense against Army and Navy, and then you're going to, what does that mean for the USC? For the game against USC? Not a thing. Like, these are different. It's the same sport, but just barely. Penn State's offense is not the same thing as Ohio State's offense. It's very different personnel, different scheme, all of that stuff. So there's a certain amount of we'll have to see on Monday night, which is exciting. Like, that's awesome. I can't wait to watch this game. A quick update on the airplane, scheduled arrival, landing at 6:58, gate arrival at 7:08. So we're about half an hour away, give or take, from when the Buckeyes will be deplaning, and we'll get a chance to hear from Ryan Day. Question about can folks have Rose Bowl confetti for free? So I am out of Rose Bowl confetti. I do have Cotton Bowl confetti, and if Ohio State wins on Monday night, we will have national championship confetti. We will mail all of that out to members of BuckeyeHuddle.com. So if you want confetti, and you also want access to all the other stuff that we do there, in addition to being a fulfillment center for bowl confetti.
It's not just a confetti board.
Drop shipping, it's kind of like that, but also we provide insider access and great content about Ohio State athletics all year long. So if you'd like to, you can go to BuckeyeHuddle.com and sign up today, get access to all of that stuff. And membership for the first month is just $4.99. So your confetti is not quite free, but it will be $4.99, which is a pretty darn good deal considering we do all the legwork on that, and also you get access to all of the cool stuff that we do.
Legwork, handwork, pocket work.
Yes. There's a lot of work that comes into confetti. Yes, stuffing bad. And
it itches against the skin when you stuff it down your shirt.
Yeah.
So how much of that did you send out?
I've sent out at least 50 bags from both games. Yeah, Jeff, if you want to, you have to DM me on the site. We don't have the ability to send it out to. We have 24,000 YouTube subscribers, so we don't have 24,000 bags. And even if I did, I probably would not have time. So we will have. If you want to access, you want the confetti and all the other fun stuff, you got to sign up at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Geiger Lee says Tom packing hefty. Yes, it is. I have. My wife goes, how did you get all that stuff home? Because I know you didn't plan ahead. And I'm like, actually, madam, I did. I have got my bag here. Got some little Ziploc bags here. Got a couple of those. So, yes, we are prepared just in case. Nope, not touching that one. Not touching the one about Inauguration Day. But thank you very much. Jeff, if you belong to Buckeye Huddle, DM me on the site. I went through all of my DMs and sent all of that out. And if not, start a thread on the board, and I will get to it when I get off of this show. Mike Ferguson says, Tom doesn't have feelings. Proof is how he berates Tony for his show openings. Listen, some kids need to get coached hard. I've coached softball for years. I've coached hockey for years. Some kids need to get coached a little harder than others. Does it improve his performance? Yes.
I don't know that it does.
No. I can't play the game for you, Tony. I can only. Kenneth says SEC refs for the championship game worry me. I've seen a lot of this being a concern.
Well, I think all refs should worry everybody, but I don't know that any ref should worry more than any others, other than Big Ten refs. Like, there won't be any holding calls with the Big Ten refs, and the penalties will be down. I'm not one of these people that follows the refs like Noon, Kevin, like Steve Halwagon. These guys, like, they know all of the ref crews. Like, that's not part of my. Doesn't hit anything that I ever think about. I don't see refs as people, so it's not, but I think there's reason to be worried about any kind of ref, but also no more than Notre Dame should.
Yeah.
But again, I do think, Tom, again, Jack Sawyer has not drawn a holding call from an opposing offensive lineman since September, week 3 of 2021, his freshman season. So it's never going to happen.
He's running out of chances to do this.
I've been talking about this for about a month now. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in this game. And do I deserve all of the credit? No, Jack Sawyer deserves some of that credit. The refs deserve some of that credit. I do deserve most of the credit. I think that would be, and I'm not looking for credit. I know I did it. I know I'm responsible for it. I know this would have never happened without me. I know people will thank me for it and recognize me for it. And should I have confetti? Yes, there should be confetti for me. Would I send that out to anybody? No, it's my confetti. I'm the one that is responsible for this. Has anybody done this for me? No, this is me.
Yes. So I was just looking for a cape. None back there, but of course, not all heroes wear capes, so not dispositive there. Market X would like to take exception with me characterizing Jeremiah Love's run as one of the the greatest or one of the greatest 2-yard runs in the history of college football. Those are the two best. Yeah, Braxton Miller's 2-yard run versus Penn State in 2012 was the greatest in history. Let's just agree that Penn State gives up the best. All right, we are back. I don't know. Oh, there we go. I don't know what happened. Sorry, we apologize. I don't know what happened with that.
It was not us.
It was not us, and it wasn't Kevin either. I don't know what happened.
Just random loss of internet.
Yeah,
in a room full of people now.
The speed test in here. I'll check it again. It was lightning fast. It is incredibly fast in here. So I don't know what on earth happened there. But we are back. So again, apologies. Apologies
you didn't
for
miss
that.
The landing.
You did not miss the landing. Team is still arriving shortly, so we are standing by for that. In the meantime, we do need to let you know about our friends at Grateful Griddle. If you are planning your next event, make it unforgettable with Grateful Griddle, Columbus's favorite food truck, serving up smash burgers, gourmet sandwiches, and good vibes. Book your catering today at GratefulGriddleOH.com. Again, you can see their logo in the upper right-hand corner if you're having trouble remembering the name. GratefulGriddleOH.com. They are sponsoring us this week and sponsoring us for a bunch of stuff, but also sponsoring us this week. So you'll be hearing more about them. Great local business owned by a big Ohio State fan. So you can sign up. You can get access to all their great, yummy food at GratefulGriddleOH.com. All right. So we have a few more questions we need to get to. We are.
Oh, did you want me to look at the plane?
Well, yeah, I was just looking over for the plane to see. Warpug feels like Emeka Egbuka is being overlooked this year. I think Emeka Egbuka has been overlooked his whole career. Emeka Egbuka was for a 5-star player who came in as like this elite were elite recruit.
He was the number one receiver in the class.
Number one receiver in his class, 5-star player, national recruit, came in, made a pretty early impact, has been a multi-year starter, is on the verge of potentially breaking both the Ohio State career receptions record and the Ohio State career receiving yards record. But he's never even necessarily been the best receiver on the team at a time, but that's just because he's played on teams with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jeremiah Smith. He would be the best receiver on like 130 of the teams in the nation, and that number might be low, but he's played with Marvin Harrison and he's played with Jeremiah Smith, so he's always been a little bit overshadowed.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, who would he be number two around the nation?
I said that because I'm like, well, certainly there must be someone I'm thinking of right now. It's like, well, maybe Roma Dunze last year.
But with him, and he's been everything you could ask for as a teammate. He's dealt with his injuries, but stepped up as a sophomore, replaced Jackson Smith-Njigba, and played a little bit as a freshman, but was an advanced guy as a freshman, same as Marvin Harrison Jr., where they pushed those older guys. As you see here, we are now live at the airport again. We are still a few minutes out from the actual landing and the deplaning, of course.
So that's the on the right. That's where Ohio State's plane will pull in. They have the big logo there. The plane will come in. They'll pull up kind of to the left of that logo. Behind it, they'll get off the plane. If they pull up in the same spot Notre Dame is, they'll go down the stairs around behind that 2025 national championship logo. And then Ryan Day will come up to where that camera position is and do a little bit of a short press conference, usually like 5 minutes or so. And once that's done, we will kind of wrap things up here because we're going to be hitting about 3 hours at that point. And the food is right over there, and it looks really good. And we will have to eat some food at some point. So,
you think they're going to turn around?
Yeah, no, the plane does appear to be making a loop, which is a little weird. Here's a question from John. Ryan Day typically decides these games with his mindset. Is he talking fast start, a.k.a. run up the score, or is he talking fist fight, a.k.a. hope the clock goes our way?
That's interesting. He's definitely talking about this. This is going to be a tough fight. Now, that's what he's saying to us. He's not going to – he's been talking about all of these games are going to be tough to the players, to the team, but also, we're still going to start fast. Like, the two things can coexist. Now, in this one – a fast start against Notre Dame would be fantastic, but I just think they're going to be very difficult to just overpower, initially. I think eventually it happens, and I do think Ohio State will be able to run the ball. Penn State ran it on them early and often, so there's no reason that Ohio State can't do similar things, especially with a better passing attack. Now, they may not match those rushing numbers because they'll be throwing the ball better or attempting to, but if Will Howard is protected, what hope does Notre Dame kind of have in this? Because that was my thought of it against Tennessee. Just keep Will Howard upright and they'll win. Yeah. Now this is a better defense than Tennessee, but if you need to force some mistakes from Will Howard. You need to force some turnovers. He can't be completing 72, 75, 80% of his passes.
Right, and Will Howard has completed 80% of his passes is a ludicrous number, but he's done that 6 or 7 times this year. I think people are singing along. It does not sound like Kevin's singing along. I'm going to punch out that airport shot for a minute because there's a lot of background noise there. We will punch that back in when it looks like the Buckeyes are there.
The airplane is now on approach after taking the loop.
Okay, so the Buckeyes coming in now from the west towards the airport. Scheduled landing is at 6:58, which is 4 minutes from now, so we will keep an eye on that for you. Billy Tuesday wants to know, does Ohio State want the ball first? I'm sure the answer is no. No, you will defer. Both teams will defer. That way you can get the middle eight. Tom, you did a show about just the importance of the middle eight in this game and how it could decide everything. Yeah, and Notre Dame has really taken advantage of the middle eight quite a bit this year. And the middle eight, we talk about this a bunch, but just for people who might be wondering, what exactly do you mean by that? Last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes of the second half. That's why when you see teams win the toss, frequently they will defer. And the reason is if you get the ball towards the end of the first half and you can score right before halftime, and then you get the ball right after halftime and you can score again, you can turn a deficit into a tie game. You can turn a tie game into a big lead. Notre Dame has done this really, really effectively this year. The last couple games, they did it against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl where it was 3-3. They kick a field goal to make it 6-3 lead. Then they force a fumble right before halftime. They stripped the quarterback and set up a one-play 13-yard touchdown drive with just about 20 seconds left in the first half. So all of a sudden, it was 3-3 30 seconds ago, and then all of a sudden now it's 13-3. And then you also are receiving the opening kick for the second half, and they receive that, and they run it back for a touchdown. And now instead of 3-3 a minute earlier, now it's 20-3, and the game's functionally over. They did the same thing against Penn State, except they were in a hole. They were down 10-0, got the ball, went down the field, real methodical drive. This is the one where Angeli came in for Riley Leonard, kicked a field goal right before halftime, 10-3, get the ball to start the second half, go right down the field, score a touchdown. It was 10-10 6 minutes ago. Now all of a sudden it's 10-0 6 minutes ago. Now it's 10-10. If Ohio State can avoid letting Notre Dame win the middle to 8, that just takes away one of the pathways to victory for Notre Dame, because that you've seen Notre Dame have so much success in that area that if you can take that away, that takes away one of the ways that Notre Dame could conceivably swing this game in their favor, could conceivably keep this game close into the third quarter, into the second half, into the fourth quarter. If Ohio State wins the middle 8, boy, that really changes the narrative around this game.
Even keeping Notre Dame from doing that is huge. Like, either win it or go neutral on it.
So Michael says, arrogant Ohio State fans can never lose unless we screw up. You do know that the FEI analytics, Ohio State is 1 and Notre Dame is 2. Yeah, that's all true. The analytics on that stuff, no one is saying Notre Dame's not a good team. The Notre Dame team that is number 2 in FEI right now had Riley Mills for most of the season. They had a healthy Jeremiah Love for most of the season. They had a healthy Bo Collins. They had a healthy offensive line. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that doesn't get factored into just those stats. And do you think Riley Mills had a positive impact for Notre Dame? Because I did not watch that much Notre Dame, but the Notre Dame I watched, I thought, boy, Riley Mills is a really good player. Not having him is going to have a significant negative impact. If Jack Sawyer was out in the Cotton Bowl, do you think that would have had a significant negative impact in Ohio State's game? I would submit that it probably would have. So Notre Dame, a lot of the conversation about Notre Dame and what this game might turn out like hinges on the fact that Notre Dame is nowhere near 100% healthy. No one's 100% healthy this time of year, but Notre Dame is much further from 100% in a lot of key places than Ohio State is. And it would be, as a Notre Dame fan, I'm sure you're aware of all of that. And I'm sure you can look at that and go, boy, this game might be, you might feel a little bit different about this game if you had a healthy offensive line and a healthy Riley Mills and a healthy Jeremiah Love and a healthy Bo Collins, like all of those things. Everyone has injuries. Ohio State has certainly had their share of injuries as well. But Ohio State has had an opportunity to sort of adjust to those injuries because they happened earlier in the year. If Josh Simmons went down in the fourth quarter against Texas, boy, that would be a very different thing than him going down against Oregon in October. All right, so here is the Buckeyes plane. They are on the ground. They're pulling up. So we're going to start wrapping things up as we head into the Buckeyes arrival. There's their plane. United flight, what, Tony?
3,800, I believe.
3,800. There you go. Pulling in, taxiing in right now. So what we're going to see is they'll pull the plane up kind of behind that 2025 National Championship sign. It'll take a couple minutes. They'll roll some stairs up. And, it takes a few minutes for them to go through the little checklist and all that kind of stuff and depressurize the plane so they can open the door and all that kind of stuff. So PB wants to know what kind of plane that is. And
it's a 777
United
200.
A United 777-200. So there you go.
Twin jet.
So they'll pull that plane up. It'll take a couple minutes when they get the stairs up to the plane. Once they do, then they'll open the door. We'll see the Buckeyes start to come out there, and we'll see the Buckeyes will come out. They'll have the buses pulled up there on the right. There's Brett Hancock from the College Football Playoff Committee walking through the shot right there. getting ready to go out and greet the Buckeyes as they come off the plane. You'll see the buses branded with Ohio State branding. That'll be coming up on the right in a little bit. Once they pull those up, they probably have not pulled those up yet. Probably waiting for the plane to pull in, but that's going to be pulling in. And then we'll get a chance to hear from Ryan Day for just a few minutes, just get some initial thoughts from him after landing in Atlanta. He will go talk to ESPN first, most likely. They will have a reporter out on the tarmac to talk to him because they can't have the same video that everyone else has because reasons. And so we're probably looking at about 15 more minutes. Going to get the chance to hear from Ryan Day, and then we will wrap things up. And if we're about to hit the 3-hour mark on the first of many live shows this week.
How many 3-hour shows?
How many?
Not the first. That's not the last.
No, definitely not the. Well,
it's the first. It's not the last.
We are looking just so. While we have you here, our tentative plan is to have an extended pregame show on Monday. To have an extended postgame show on Monday. Those will probably both be 3+ hour shows. We will probably try and have some kind of a live show for you, both Saturday and Sunday morning, Saturday and Sunday afternoon / evening, and then plenty of extended live show on Monday, because boy, is there going to be a lot to talk about as we head into this game. So here you go. There is the Buckeyes plane now on the ground in Atlanta, pulling that stair car up. Do you think it's the one from Arrested Development?
I was going to leave that for you.
You're going to get some hop-ons, Tony. You're going to get some hop-ons.
I still think the better visual, and this is all about the visual, the better visual is the inflatable slide.
Yes, 100%, 100%. So we have had that video freeze for a second, and it's doing it again. The Wi-Fi at the airport is not necessarily cooperating particularly well. Nothing we can do about that right now. Nothing we can do about the Wi-Fi at the airport, but so far holding okay right now. Terry says, too bad these tickets are so expensive. This is a game I'd love to go to. Yeah, this is definitely a game that I think a lot of people would love to go to. Tickets have been holding steady. The get-in price has been holding steady around $1,500, I think, including fees, give or take. So,
the Avis lady that I always deal with, she was saying that she's a Notre Dame fan, Jen, and wanting to go to this game, and you could split up the payments, like every 2 weeks, like on Klarna and things like that. But it's just like $2,000 for tickets for a ticket right now is just a bit much for most people, and it'll come down some, but you're gonna have to show up day of game, work it, and then maybe you'll get in the first quarter at a low price.
Yeah, this is at this point all about patience and risk tolerance. And if you're willing to drive down to Atlanta or fly down to Atlanta, it's not a bad drive. We did the drive today. It is not a bad drive. So if you are willing to make that drive and head down, then you can take your chances and be able to get in potentially a little late. But there are no guarantees at this point. We have been talking about ticket prices on our board for a week now, and I've had it pretty well judged in terms of it's been about $2,000. I think it's going to find a floor about $1,500. That's basically where it's been bouncing, and maybe it will drop. All of it depends on how many people come down without tickets, looking to buy tickets, and willing to hop in at that last minute. So there you go. There is the stairs up to the Ohio State plane now.
Kevin's zooming in on the stairs like, oh, the door's going to open. It's like, well, Kevin doesn't really control that part of it.
Yeah, so they have to get up there. They have to slide those where it says United there on the side of the stair car thing. They have to slide that up to make it so people can't just like plunge off of the stair thing. It's like when they pull the little hood thing over when they when you go on the jetway at the normal airport. And they stop to get someone up there to depressurize the plane and get that door open. The door will open outward towards you, and then you'll start to see the Buckeyes coming out. Usually, Ryan Day's one of the first people to come off the plane, not the first person to come off the plane. That's all coming here very soon. While we're waiting for something interesting to happen, instead of looking at the side of an airplane, Michael just follows up with in the F+ top 20. Notre Dame is 6-0. Ohio State is 6-1. Yes, all true. that, I don't know that you could make a serious argument that Notre Dame has played a tougher schedule in the college football playoff than Ohio State has. Here's a fun fact. On this day 24 years ago, Jim Tressel, hired by Ohio State, the 18th was the day that he made the 310 days speech. There you go. You see him trying to get the door of the plane open there.
Wouldn't open from the inside?
Yes, that's actually a feature, not a bug, as they say. Here you go. They are just getting some folks off the plane now. It's not Ryan Day. I know people are seeing a guy with a dark beard. That is not Ryan Day. There's someone carrying Seth McLaughlin's mobility scooter down there, still with the Achilles injury. There is Seth McLaughlin, center, Remington Award winner, out for the year with that Achilles injury. Looks like Emeka Abuka next, and there's Luke Montgomery, and then Travion Henderson, and then Quinshon Judkins, and someone with a hood, and there's Jordan Hancock behind the second guy there, and there's Carnell Tate, and then that's Tyleek Williams, and right behind Tyleek Williams is Ryan Day hiding there. There's Ryan Day. Behind Ryan Day and the police officer is Jack Sawyer. Pretty sure that's Jack Sawyer. It looks like Jack Sawyer. If I can recognize Jack Sawyer by his right arm, I'm going to say, good job, me. There's Jack Sawyer. We skipped a couple people. There's Devin Brown. There's Julian Sayin, backup quarterbacks. G. Scott. Will Howard. Lincoln Kienholz. Donovan Jackson. That's Mitchell Melton. Lathan Ransom. Can't see that face. That looks like Cody Simon with the glasses. Austin Sireveld, Tager Shabola. Ross Bjork, the athletic director. There's Jim Knowles, defensive coordinator. Hero Canoe, backup defensive tackle. Chip Kelly right there behind Jim Knowles, kind of hiding. Zen Mahalski, backup offensive lineman. Will Smith Jr., backup defensive tackle. Toby Wilson. Josh Fryer. That's Caden McDonald.
I'm trying to write about Josh Fryer tonight.
I think that's Caden Curry in the hood there. I think that's Gabe Van Sickle and Jason Moore. I almost said that's Amari Abor. Someone who looks like Amari Abor. It is not. That's Will Kazmarek there walking down there. There's Caleb Downs at the top of the stairs right now. Mickey Marotti, strength and conditioning guru. It might have been Denzel Burke. That's Tim Walton there. Ian Moore, freshman offensive lineman. That's Dominic Kirks. Jermaine Matthews. Miles Lockhart. Might be Tymon Malone there. Hard to see some of these guys if not looking right at you. There's Matt Guerreri, safeties coach, followed by JT Tui Moloau. Carlos Lachlan, running backs coach. There's JT.
Walking fine.
Yep, walking fine. Yep, Bennett Christian, backup tight end there. Now we're zooming out, increasing the degree of difficulty. There's a guy, another guy.
Might be getting ready for Ryan Day.
We might be getting ready for Ryan Day. That is my suspicion. Yes. So you will have to make do with that for the play-by-play on the stairs. Sorry, little too far away now, but yeah, Buckeyes obviously coming down those stairs, and they're going to hop right on those buses. They do not mess around at all. They're going to hop right on those buses. That microphone you see there, that is where Ryan Day is going to be coming up there. So here we go. Here's Ryan Day. We're going to punch ourselves out of the show.
Yeah, great to be here in Atlanta. Had a great send-off party there in Columbus on the way out. So it was great to see, the fans send us off like that. It gave our team a bunch of energy on the bus, which was great. And, we talked a lot about how, we need everybody. And to see the fans send us off like that was great. And we've had a good week of prep. Looking forward to a great week of practice here in Atlanta. And the guys are energized. So, good to get back here and get to work.
Hey, Coach, welcome to Atlanta. Last week we talked about how important the fans were, and you just addressed the send-off and everything. What's your message to the fans? And it doesn't getting bigger than this, does it?
No, we need everybody, and it doesn't matter if it was a 4 or 5 year old who was there at the buses today, or an 8-year-old woman there who had a sign, that she had a message for someone on the team, but somebody who's going to be at the stadium being loud. We need a great crowd. Mercedes-Benz Stadium Monday night, or maybe it's somebody back home in Columbus, or a Buckeye fan who's maybe in another country. But everybody matters right now, and we feel that, the players feel that. So we need Buckeye Nation to come together with great vibes and great energy going into Monday night.
You guys so often talk about keeping a routine, keeping everything the same, but obviously this is very different. Do you lean into the fact that you are at the national championship, or treat this just like every other game?
A little bit of both. Talk to the guys about, after we had our walkthrough today and practice, that when you get on the plane, you fly to Atlanta and you get to the hotel, it's a good time to reflect on the journey that you've been on personally. It's everybody's dream to play in the national championship, but also what the team's been on in terms of their journey to get to right here. Because our first team meeting was today, a year ago. And here we are a year later in the national championship. That being said, we wake up in the morning, it's all about work.
Oh, here, Coach, to your right. Hey, Coach, right here. AP Stedham of AP has to see it. Coach, what's the overall health of your team, and what are some of the characteristics of a Marcus Freeman coach team?
Yeah, very healthy coming in. I thought the guys did a great job getting their bodies right. The first couple of days we had some rest, had a couple really good days of practice. So guys got a lot of energy, really fresh, especially for this time of year going into our 16th game. We know we have a great challenge ahead of us. Notre Dame's a very, very good team and very disciplined, a lot of good players, very well coached, as you know. Certainly, complimentary in all three phases, put pressure on you. So we know we have to be at our best, and that's the goal in this game, is to play our best game of the season. I still don't think we've done that. That's the goal.
Brian, way over on your left. Curious, still 2 more days to go before kickoff. I know the majority of the work has been done, but what are these next 2 days about as you prepare during practice?
Yeah, we'll get in here tonight, have a dinner, relax, get to bed, get some rest. Guys will take care of their bodies, and they'll wake up in the morning and have a typical Thursday practice plan for us. So, meetings, walkthroughs. I know practice over Mercedes-Benz. Come back and watch the film and have a full day. But it's all about preparation, and I think that's what we all understand. We have a job to do. Everybody who's on that bus right now has a job to do, and you can get yourself distracted about what kind of game this is or whatever. But the truth is, you need to stick to your routine and focus on doing your job on Monday night, and making sure that you're focused on what the task is at hand is what's critically important right now. That's it. Nothing else matters. And so that's what we're going to do, and that's what we've done the last few weeks.
Coach Gerdeman right here from WSAD in Savannah right here. Like you said, this is game number 16 for you. It's never happened before that a college football team has played 16 games in the regular season. Are you worried about mental fatigue, and how have you kind of prepared them for doing something that really has never been broke before in this sport?
Well, we talked about it all year. I think our energy has actually picked up week in and week out. I feel the momentum. When you have momentum, you got to keep it. I feel like we've continued to get stronger as the season's gone on. We've had a plan on how we were going to do that. And so now, again, we have to be at our best. The whole plan has been to get to this point right now. And so we have a couple more days to get prepared to go do it.
Hey, Ryan, Dave Holmes, ABC 6, Fox 28, Columbus. You have a very senior-laden, a leadership-laden team. How much is that going to matter? Do you feel like they're ready for this moment?
Yeah, I think they have a bunch of seniors, too, a lot of experience. And these guys have all played a lot of football now. So both Notre Dame and us have played a lot. So the team who executes the best and takes care of the football and plays the most discipline is going to win the game.
Coach, obviously, all the marbles. How ready do you think your guys are? And they understand how big this moment is, right?
Yeah, they do.
This is what you've been pointing to.
Yeah, that's it. But, we have 2 more days. We're not playing the game right now. So, we'll get here, we'll assess the situation, and just like we've done the last couple of weeks, the last couple of games. You come in, you get a feel for where you are, you get to work, you continue to focus on the preparation, and then you build it up as you go. But anytime you're getting ready to go play in a game, you got to build your mind, body, and soul to go play. And so we still got a lot of work to do. We're going to continue to work all the way to the foot hits the ball on Monday night. Thanks, guys.
All right, so that was Ohio State head coach Ryan Day addressing some basic questions, nothing earth-shattering there, but just sort of they are on the ground. The big news is, hey, Ohio State made it. Notre Dame made it. There's going to be a football game in a couple days.
Couple of days, Monday night, Ohio State, Notre Dame for the College Football Playoff National Championship. That's been a long season, a long time coming for both programs. But just as we all predicted, Ohio State versus Notre Dame for all the marbles.
A surprising number of people did pick that as an outcome. I know Kelly Ford, who does analytics, his numbers predicted all the games correctly up to this point, and predicted, before the playoff, predicted Notre Dame to beat Ohio State. And he said now his numbers, given some of the changes, given what's happened now, has Ohio State beating Notre Dame. But I mean, this has been it hasn't been shock necessarily. A lot of favorites have won, but it has been certainly an entertaining playoff, for sure. So there you go, Buckeyes on the ground in Columbus, on the ground. Well, no, that's where we started. They started with the Buckeyes on the ground in Columbus, ended with the Buckeyes on the ground in Atlanta. Just to sort of set this table for you guys for the weekend, because I know we have picked up a number of people, obviously, as Ohio State has landed. Just sort of set the table for you for what to expect this weekend and heading into the national championship game from us, from our channel here, and at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Saturday morning, Media Day starts at 9 a.m. Buckeyes start at 9 a.m. We're going to be over at the Georgia World Congress Center. We'll try and have as many of those interviews live streamed for you as we can, so you can hear from the Buckeyes. And then there's a little bit of a gap, and then we'll get a chance to hear from the Fighting Irish. We'll try and have that all live streamed for you at youtube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. Saturday afternoon, we're going to be going to cover both Ohio State and Notre Dame practices over at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We'll have all that video for you on our YouTube channel, as well as at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sunday, head coach's press conference. That's at 9 a.m. We'll be on a little early, try and give you a little bit of a live scene setter for that, and then the press conference at 9 o'clock. That's usually about a half an hour.
Is that at the stadium too?
I don't know. That's a great question. That's not their problem. That's our problem. We'll figure that out. So we have the press conference on Sunday morning. We're going to try and get some coverage with the Ohio State Marching Band if we can make the logistics of that work out. And there's going to be plenty of other stuff to cover. And then Monday, we're going to have an extended pregame show from the stadium. We're planning to get there very early, give you a long extended run up to that game, because we know as you're sitting in your office on Monday afternoon, your thoughts are probably not going to be on your TPS reports. They are probably going to be on a football game happening down here. We're going to do our best to get you through that. And then, of course, the game itself afterwards. Boy, is there going to be a lot to talk about one way or the other following that game. So we will have all sorts of live coverage for you as soon as that game ends. Probably a little before that game ends, our folks up in Columbus will get that post-game show rolling. But make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. Make sure you are subscribed at BuckeyeHuddle.com, because that's where we have all of our coverage. Tony, I'm talking about all this live stuff. Tony's going to be writing a whole bunch of stuff this weekend as well. Lots of stuff, lots of coverage, lots of chat on our board. There's going to be a big, busy weekend. And a couple of super chats you need to get to. TK says, thanks, Huddle team. This was great. Thank you. Really appreciate it. So Steve Ross wants to know who of the 2025 early enrollees are on this trip. So I don't know the answer to that specifically. I can tell you early enrollees who we saw at the Cotton Bowl and the Rose Bowl, which is probably going to be basically the same guys. Tavian St. Clair, saw
Devin
Sanchez, saw Jake Cook,
Carter Lowe,
saw Javon McFadden, saw a number of the defensive linemen, some of the transfers as well, like Logan George, the transfer, he was there. At least one of the offensive tackles was there, the transfer offensive tackles. I think Eli Lee saw. I know tight end.
Max Clare?
No, the one from Oklahoma, Nate Roberts. Nate Roberts is here. I'm assuming he was at certainly the previous two games. We'll get you a full list, and when we're at practice, that's something we can kind of keep an eye out for. But we'll try and get you a full list. But those are the guys who've been at some of the earlier ones, and I'm sure I'm missing people. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head, and I've been trying to learn a bunch of Notre Dame players' names the last week and a half. So I have a lot of football players' names in my head. Riley Leonard, is he an early enrollee? No. Okay.
Riley Mills,
also no. Yes, not a single Riley. Not even a Lincoln Riley.
Boy,
but-
all right.
Well, but thank you. Yeah. Thank you guys. Oh, Riley, Riley Pettyjohn. I lied. Thank you for Chocolate Chip Scoochie, the linebacker from Texas. Riley Pettyjohn. Yes, he was there. So, yes. So there is a Riley. I stand corrected. So.
All right, boy. Thank you all. So many of you just stayed with us. We appreciate that for everything. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up before you go if you want to do that. We would appreciate that. And of course, want to thank our sponsors, Grateful Griddle. Go to check out GratefulGriddleOH.com. Planning your next event, make it unforgettable with Grateful Griddle. Columbus's favorite food truck is serving up smash burgers, gourmet sandwiches, and very good vibes. So book your catering today at GratefulGriddleOH.com. Continue to find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. As we say, first month is $4.99. Come say hello to us there on the Buckeye Huddle message board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.